Good evening. Welcome to
Oh,
American
no.
Hammers TV. I told you I was doing the whole show in an Irish accent tonight. I can't do it. I can't do it. I even wore my Son at the End shirt under my my West Ham top because it's my father-in-law's birthday, and we just got through celebrating his birthday. And I just came upstairs like 2 minutes ago and logged on, and he's not like Irish at all, but his birthday St. Patrick's Day, so he makes a big deal on St. Patrick's Day anyway. So happy 78th birthday to my father-in-law, who is a great guy, born on St. Patrick's Day in Kansas. And yes, I've been wearing the Sen at the End shirt because it's pretty much the only green I have in my wardrobe. I don't wear a lot of green otherwise. Welcome to American Hammers TV, part of the American Hammers Network. We're happy you're here. Everybody's giving me the side eye tonight. Like X on Twitter, when he's right about something, he always gives a side eye like he knew what he was talking about the whole time. Look, Rob's giving me the side eye. Charlie boy, that didn't surprise me. Anyway, glad y'all are here. Sally says hello, everyone. Oh, there you go. There's Trevor. All right, Trevor. All right, Tibo. Hello to you too. Glad you're here. Yeah, you guys know what I'm going to say. Check out our website, AmericanHammers.net. You can buy stuff there. You can buy stuff like, where did it go? Oh man, it's buried under a bunch of stuff. Look at this. All right, you can buy stuff like the American Hammers TV flag. Let's turn it up the right way.
Look at you showing off your wife's stuff in the back finally.
Well, I mean,
it only took 2 years.
That is her master's from Oxford back there, and I'm sitting underneath her PhD from Boston College, so she's a lot smarter than I am. But that's all my stuff. That's like Bruins Stanley Cup picture, and I got the Manchester Monarchs from when they won the Calder Cup in the AHL.
Oh,
got
wow.
a George Brett autograph picture. Got a Rose Bowl ticket from when I went to the Rose Bowl with TCU. So, yeah, that's all my stuff, believe it or not. But the books are all hers, believe me. So I don't read books. You know how I am. I just read Twitter. American Hammers TV flag and a bunch of cool stuff. You can even get West Ham stuff that is not American Hammers TV stuff. So check out our website, please. Subscribe and like our video if you would. That would be great. It's super helpful. If you want to be on the show, let us know. Check us out. I have no idea if anybody else is going to show up tonight or not. We've invited a bunch of people. Some said they would come. Maybe they will. If they don't, we got 3 of us here. We've got James O Fever. I put an O when you did what I did there. That was what that was for. James is in London, and O'Shelley in in Colorado, and you're from Aurora, Colorado, isn't that right?
Right, yeah.
Right. So that's spelled O''ORRA, right? Aurora.
Right, yeah.
So, because it's St. Patrick's Day in Greater Boston, and everybody's Irish, except this year, kind of nobody was Irish because nobody could go do anything. But,
right.
I told the guys before I started, I wore the Son at the End shirt tonight. My father-in-law's birthday. Happy birthday to him. He makes a big deal out of it, even though he's not Irish, and we're not really Irish either. But it doesn't matter. Maybe we'll have some Irish people. Like Rob's celebrating. He knows. Rob knows. Mark knows. These guys know. Some of my family traces back to I don't know, one of those Irish counties. It's either Cork or Kilkenny or one of those starts with a "k" sound. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know anything about that stuff. My mother could tell you all about it, but she's not going to come on tonight. So yeah, so let us know if you want to be on the show, etc. We're glad you're here. Like and subscribe. That's very important if I haven't said that already. Guys, it was a setback on Sunday, wasn't it? Does anybody want to defend David Moyes to start off with? Anybody want to jump in and say you think that he got it right, but it just didn't work out? Anybody want to defend David Moyes?
I don't know if there's anything that you can defend, in all honesty, because James had me on the Hammers Poll show the other day, and we were talking about the match. And I was saying you could tell that he went into it with the same mindset as the cup match. We took him 100 plus minutes. It was an ugly game on both sides, kind of scrappy. If there was any option for there to be a replay, it would have happened because the game would have been over. But I think he was like, "Oh, we'll just wash, rinse, repeat." We took him 100 plus, so we can get another 90 out of him. And and the only thing that I will say to defend him, and all devil's advocate, is he did go the full game without letting Man U score, and that's really he got mission accomplished for him. So good for you, David Moyes, for not going after and just parking the bus for 90 minutes.
I mean, we had a little bit of an unlucky own goal. You know, Craig Dawson has been so fantastic for us. Guilty of the own goal, and I think it was Harry Maguire had him like by around the shoulders by the neck anyway. So it wasn't, you know, there were circumstances that led to it, but it was unfortunate. But we were never going to score in that game. We were never going to. I mean, we were
no with that lineup.
Exactly, and I mean, how God bless Mark Noble, we all love him, et cetera, et cetera. I'll say the standard. It's like a legal boilerplate you have to say before you talk about Mark Noble, right? We all love Mark Noble. Blah 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 blah. Let's get out of the way. He should never start for us again, ever. It's just never. James, tell us what you thought.
I was disappointed. I was angry. I was upset. We're fifth in the league. We're not fifth from bottom. Do you know what I mean? The mentality is
no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Like the mentality should be we should go there and have a go. And if you're a real West Ham fan and you follow West Ham, you get more respect from us when basically we have a go at teams. And if we lose, we can accept defeat. Like, like, you know what I mean? We've been used to defeat before, and we'll be used to defeat next time. But what we don't accept as fans is when we go up there and we do nothing. We don't have a shot on target. Yeah. We don't do anything of any. The goalkeeper has had nothing to do all match. What did David Moyes do? The only thing I would say that he did do right is he got the team to Manchester and got them back home from Manchester because he done nothing in the match. And you know, it's not Mark Noble. I'll tell you what it is. It ain't Mark Noble that I had the problem with this one. It was the five at the back that I had the problem with. Like, because you can play Noble in there and like it wouldn't really have been a problem. But playing five at the back, you're just asking for trouble.
No, you're absolutely right. Now, Vernon, I invited Tommy to come on. I never heard back from him. So hopefully he's in a drunken stupor of some sort, you know. I don't know. Hopefully he didn't just go to sleep like on a regular day because it's St. Patrick's Day. Although I know in Ireland they don't celebrate it the way we do here. But yeah, I mean, it's a problem with Moyes, right? He shows too much respect to these big high profile clubs. Let's say Liverpool, Manchester United. You know, they've both done the double over us. That there was no reason for that to happen. That didn't need to happen. I think he has a mental block about Manchester United. He's never wanted Old Trafford ever. I read this the other day. I don't know how many times he's gone with Everton, with us. I don't remember. Were Sunderland in the Premier League when he was there? I can't remember. But anyway, whenever he's
gone. I think at the season that they went down, I think.
Yeah. So he must have been there, I don't know, 10, 15 times, maybe more. I have no idea how many years it's been. He's never won there. So, and of course he, you know, was a failed manager there as well. So that's me. No, everybody gets interrupted a lot when I'm talking. That's my fault. That's not because of Selly. I think he's got a mental block about us and about Liverpool too, because that was his rival when he was at Everton, and he couldn't beat him when he was there either most of the time. So I don't know. Is it? What do we do about this David Moyes problem?
Well, I mean, I guess to give him some credit, you know, he did go up against a lot of really, really good Manchester United teams, you know, because Manchester United was a buzzsaw while he was over there at Everton. Not that he had bad Everton sides. Sunderland, obviously, they were pretty bad, but I don't think that was Moyes' fault. But anyways, I mean, I think when we specifically look at this season, we are giving teams way too much respect for the name. You know, there's no reason we should have lost to Liverpool. Right. I think the second time around, the first time around, I think they probably had a little bit better of a squad. But the second time when we go up to Liverpool, or no, I'm sorry, when they come to London, you know, they're a battered team. You know, they're playing people out of position all over the place. You know, we should have went for it. And for, I don't know, maybe 50 minutes of that game, we were respectable. And then we got hit on the counter and just folded. You know, same thing with Arsenal. Shouldn't we, especially, and I know we'll get into it, but we don't need to respect the badge this year. You know, like James said, like we're fifth from the top. We're not fifth from the bottom.
Right.
You know, so we should play like that. We shouldn't be playing like a team who's trying to protect points because we need to gain points. And I don't think we're in a bad spot right now. You know, I think for the most part, even though the lineup wasn't favorable, I think the guys put in for the most part, not everybody, but I think for the most part, the guys put in a good shift. I was telling James in the show that, I think we definitely beat up Manchester United because at the end of that game, you saw a lot of guys on their side who had the hands on the knees. They just wanted to get the game over with. Obviously, man, he had all that possession. They hit the post a couple times, whatever. But I think, the last 10 minutes, they just wanted to get out of there, especially with the 1-goal lead. But we're playing as if we're playing against the best version of these sides. Let's protect the net. Let's not give up a lot of goals.
Bang
go
bang
for
on
it.
the money there.
Yeah.
But no, Sally, you're bang on the money, right? I've got comments. I was just reading through the comments, and some of the people are just delusional. I'm afraid. If this was Manchester United 25 years ago with Giggs, Scholes, Beckham, Gary Neville, I would understand it. I'd go, you know what? I respect that. But this is a team that drew with Crystal Palace 0-0 in one of the worst games of football I've ever seen in my life. They play on the Thursday. They've got massive amounts of injuries.
Yeah.
And we're making out that they're some world beater. Do you know what I mean? And for me, right, I was just reading through some of the stuff about we're a mid-table team. So what are people saying that Arsenal are a mid-table team? Are people saying Tottenham's a mid-table?
That's a good
Do you know
question.
what I mean?
I'd like to know that too, James. Or right now we sit above Arsenal, we sit above Tottenham. We're within striking distance of Chelsea still.
Mhm.
And that's a good question. Are Arsenal a mid-table team? They're well behind us at the
I
moment.
just want to ask you something. I wonder if Leicester thought they was a mid-table team when they was challenging for the league.
Yeah.
They didn't seem like it. They didn't seem like it.
No, Leicester weren't sitting there going, oh no, what it is, right? The year before we just fought relegation and we got away with it, and now a year later we're fighting for the Premier League, right? But they're going, no, but what it is, they're a mid-table team. I'm sorry, but some of the people that I've seen with these comments are and this is not just here, it's from other platforms, saying that we don't deserve to be there. We're there on merit. Let's get that right. We're fifth of the league for a reason because we're the fifth best team in the league at that precise moment in time. Do you know what I mean? So the mentality.
Go ahead.
Go on, mate.
Sorry.
No, go on, mate.
I'll definitely. I do agree with a lot of what 80s Geezer was saying, and I don't want because obviously, he said our opinions are not delusional. Yeah, granted. Obviously, these are our opinions as well. We are fifth for a reason because we have beaten the small clubs, and that's honestly probably the most important part because that's something that we haven't done for a while is beat teams that are worse than us. Because I think pretty well documented that the West Ham way were to play well against the top six and treat everybody else as if we don't belong, kind of thing. We show them too much respect, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think where it comes into play as far as not respecting it is, I can understand if we got a point from United, perfect, I'll take it. But I think there's a way that you can go about getting a point respectably and then go and just looking like you're desperate for a point. I think it's two different. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say something though, Sully? Yeah. Teams that are fifth in the league don't set up at five at the back. Whoever they are, whether that's Tottenham, Arsenal, Leicester, Everton, they don't go to Manchester United and set up with 8 defensive players. All right. And people saying that, we don't deserve to be there, and all this game that I'm sort of seeing. At the end of the day, you've got to respect that we're there for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we haven't beat the big teams, granted, I get that, but we haven't beat the big teams because we're playing that negative mentality. Do you know what I mean? Let me just ask this. Can I just ask this one question, Chiz, and I'll let you carry on? Yeah.
Yeah.
If that was the FA Cup final, right? If that game was a one-off game, FA Cup final, would Moyes set up like that?
To be honest, I think to answer that question, I think it would just depend on who we're playing, if I'm being fair. Because I think if it's an FA Cup final, I think the only difference, let's say we were playing United FA Cup, I think the only difference you see is you probably don't have 8 midfielders. The formation will be the same, but you don't have 8 defenders in your starting 11, if I'm being honest. So I think if I'm going to play the card of, I guess, defending Moyes against kind of some of the stuff that you were saying, was that I think 5 at the back for us has worked well when we have played those upper echelon teams. When we've played teams that are the mid-table, lower table teams, we've definitely changed it up and gone more attacking. Look at Leeds away, we did that. Obviously, Leeds at home. But when we switched it up early in the season against Wolves, Leicester, I think we did 5 in the back against
we did a lot
Tottenham the second time. But I don't think
we did against Tottenham the second time. I didn't.
No, I don't think we did the second time. I think we're actually relatively attacking. But
yeah, I was going to say we won that match obviously 2-1. Went up 2 goals, played really well.
Yeah.
I think in part because we set up in an attacking formation or counter-attacking, but still we didn't park the bus the way we tried to against Manchester United. There's a lot of stuff going on in the chat room, which is fantastic. A lot of great comments coming along.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me throw this out to you. I'm going to go back to what 80s Geezer said here. We're 5th for a reason. We beat the small clubs, try to nick a point against the big clubs. So, I mean, in a way, what we did against Manchester United was what we've done all season, right? Can I
ask the question there, though, Lee? Can I ask the question there?
Yeah.
When will we ever be positive against Manchester United, right? Ever?
I think Rob brings up a point here that I think is a really good point. And I think Moyes has a mental block about Liverpool and Manchester United. I really do.
100%.
That's fair.
You look at our performances. We got a draw against Manchester City earlier in the season. We played very well against them when they were at the end of their win streak a couple of weeks ago. Didn't get a result in that match, but everybody was pretty satisfied with the performance. Even when we lost to Arsenal, it was unfortunate that we lost. We were in that game. I thought the first Manchester United game, the very first one, the league game, the first league game, was actually not a bad performance. They got the goal that went 40 yards into touch back in the air, and so that was unfortunate. But it's something about Liverpool and Manchester United, especially at Old Trafford. Moyes gets into Old Trafford and he has his tail between his legs. He gets freaked out, and I think he's got a mental block about it. I really do.
I'll tell you the reason why and I will be honest with you here, the reason why he went that way is because he does not trust Saeed Benrahma. It's as simple
No, he
as
doesn't.
That.
This is a great point.
It proves it the other night. When he lost Fornals, right, for injury that none of us knew about, he knew that Lingard wasn't going to be playing because it's his parent club. He had a decision to make, and his decision was, I'm going to use Mark Noble, play 5 at the back. I don't trust Saeed Benrahma. And it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. You're absolutely right. And I have to believe. Now, let me ask you this. And it's a hypothetical, so no way we'll ever know. I think if Lingard and Fornals are available for that game, I don't think he sets up 5 at the back. I really don't.
100%.
Maybe I'm wrong.
100%.
There's no way.
1,000%. You are 1,000% right.
Right. I think if Lingard and Fornals are available, they're both in that game. And we have Fornals, Lingard, and Bowen across the top, with Antonio up front. I think I don't think he sets up 5 at the back. So I think it was a little unfortunate that Fornals was injured, but we've got Benrahma, and you're right, James. He fundamentally does not trust him. Something he sees in training, something he sees during the games. Maybe he sees him giving the ball away too much. Maybe he sees that he takes a lot of errant shots. I don't know what it is. As fans, we all love Benrahma. There's something Moyes doesn't like about him. It's that clear to me now.
I think Moyes just doesn't like that he's not the best going back. It's kind of like, obviously we know what he does going forward. He's a great distributor. I think I definitely can't blame him for taking his shot, because I feel like Benrahma is one of those players that once he gets that first, that the others will just flow. But unfortunately, he just hasn't gotten the first yet. So I can't necessarily blame him for his shooting, because,
I don't blame him either.
Lingard's first game. Lingard hadn't played all year. Dude, you could tell the second you saw him in the starting 11 that he was going for it. And he got 2 goals.
The thing is, right, people say about, he gives the ball away and all this, This is what I keep hearing from different platforms and everything, He gives the ball away and he does this, he does that. Jared Bowen has been non-existent for 12 games.
Jared Bowen has been awful, and I'm sorry to say it, because I don't want to rag on a young player. We have to remember he's come out of the championship. He's only been with us for a calendar year, right? He signed in January of last year. So, I mean, he's still a young player, and he's still maybe not fully, accustomed to playing in the Premier League, but he's had a rough spell, not a good spell. I'm with you on that, James. And I don't know why. Why does he trust Bowen and not Benrahma? I mean, what does he see in Bowen that he doesn't see Benrahma?
I'll tell you the reason it probably is, and the lads are saying it in the comments below. It's not his signing. It's not his signing.
It was a Sullivan signing.
It's a Sullivan signing where Bowen was a Moyes signing. And it's all political. At the end of the day, right, when you're going up to Old Trafford, there's a system that you could have went. You could have played a flat back four, Noble, Rice, and Souček, Bowen, Benrahma, Antonio, a 3-man attack. There's your team straight away. But he sets up in such a way because he does not want to play him. Now, I'm going to say this, lads, right? Let's go back to the end of January, right? Early February. Jesse Lingard signs. He plays against Villa. We win 3-1. Said Benrahma's in the team. Excellent game. Everyone plays well. Great team performance. We play Fulham on the Saturday. We draw 0-0. Benrahma and Bowen get subbed on the 55th minute. Both played awful. And I'd hold my hands up and say both played awful. He comes on the 87th minute against Manchester United in the FA Cup game. If Manchester United score in the 88th minute, he's technically got 6 minutes of game time to save the day, right? Yep. We then move on to the Sheffield United home game, right? He comes on the 80th minute there. We then move on to the Tottenham game where he comes on, I think it's the 75th minute or 76th minute again. We then move to the Manchester City game where he comes on the 78th minute. He starts at Leeds and plays 73 minutes. And then the other night, he comes on the 62nd minute and gets 28 minutes. From Leeds to Fulham, he's had all sub appearances. Why? Just someone explain why.
I don't know. Listen, you just rattled it all off. I don't know, and this is what I don't think anybody understands. What it comes down to me is we have to trust the manager. I mean, not saying we can't criticize him. We should. We are criticizing him. He sees something he doesn't like. It's something he doesn't trust, and I think it's Benrahma's propensity to give the ball away, maybe more often than other players do, and not to track back the way of Fornals will. He loves a guy like Fornals, who is more of a two-way player, if you will. It's kind of a hockey term, but more of a guy who's willing to track back more defensively. A little less flashy. And I think Fornals is really good. Don't get me wrong. It's not a criticism. I like Fornals. I like him more than most people do. But Moyes has confidence in him that he just doesn't seem to have in Benrahma. And I think it's unfortunate because Benrahma brings us – he and Lanzini came on and changed that game. They changed that game. They just didn't have time. I
can't understand, lads, what I can't understand is Benrahma was good enough to come off the bench to save the game. So why can't he start the game? Yeah. That's the issue that I have.
I don't know. I don't get that either. But I think if you look at this is, I think there's a point here. Bowen and Benrahma, they not really start on the same side, so they don't necessarily compete directly with each other, but they are, they are probably competing for playing time to some extent, especially if we're going to go 5 at the back. Which one would you rather have on the pitch if you had a choice between Bowen and Benrahma? I'd rather have Benrahma on the pitch. I think he's better.
And I will be honest, I love Bowen, but when I look at Benrahma, I look at a player that can beat a man. He can bring others into play. He's trying his hardest to score a goal. That's the problem. He's trying so hard to get his first goal, and it ain't happening at the minute. But if you had a choice, and that's a good question, I'd have Benrahma all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about you, Sully?
Yeah, I would start Benrahma. And, obviously, Lingard couldn't play this game, but I think after the Villa game, and you saw the instant connection between Benrahma and Lingard, I feel like you have to start those two together because it's not even just specifically that one game. Every game of those two are on the pitch together, they seem to have a really good connection, and I think it's definitely benefited Lingard in the sense of goals, but I think it could also be the key to kind of unleashing Benrahma, in certain aspects, because I think Benrahma commands a lot of attention because what he can do with the ball, getting around people distribution wise. But now, Jesse Lingard, he can also command that same attention, and you don't have enough defenders to take both of those guys on, and Antonio and a Souček, so I think I would just start him because of that connection, and Bowen could be somebody who he could be your sub that you bring on 70, 75 minutes, with his pace. He is a pretty brutal player. He's not afraid to go into contact. He could be like what we were talking about. Antonio was perfect for a super sub because he's a bruiser. He's quick. Nobody can get in front of him, so I don't know. We'll see. But I would definitely start Benrahma.
So I wanted to throw this out there, and this goes along with what we've been talking about. So Jacob Steinberg, he writes for The Guardian. You've probably seen him on Twitter. He's good football knowledge. I'm not the biggest Guardian reader, but I mean it's sports, so it's a little bit different. He has, I think, fairly a good understanding of the game, and he covers West Ham. He said after the match on Sunday, or I guess maybe this was looks like it was on Monday. He said the idea that you should go for it against Manchester United is funny. Has anyone ever watched Manchester United? They want you to go for it. When West Ham went for it, they got picked off on the break. Trying to frustrate United is a logical move. They needed an own goal. He's made this long argument, this long Twitter thread about how he thought Moyes got it right. It just didn't work. Do you know what I mean? Like we had an unlucky.
I saw Tottenham go for it up there in Old Trafford.
Well, I wanted to get your reactions to this, both of you.
Can I ask the question here? If it wasn't for Fabianski, we would have lost 4. Simple as that. Fabianski kept us in that game. This thing of us, because we conceded an own goal, we still lost the game. Whether we concede an own goal or Rashford scores it. Do you know what I mean? We still lose the game, but we don't get no points. We walk out with a loss. And all this about frustrating Manchester United. Oh my days. This team lost to Sheffield United, the worst team in the Premier League, only about 6 weeks ago. And
the week before they played us. Yeah. The week before Sheffield played us, they beat them.
Exactly. So let's not make out that Man United are this worldwide beating. They go and beat everyone every week because I'm sorry, but that's not the case. If that's Manchester City or Liverpool, I would respect it. Chelsea, Manchester United, I'm sorry, but when they've got half their injury, they've got injuries. They play Thursday night. Everything was in our favour that on Sunday, and we just tossed it away for just because we didn't go for it. No ambition.
Well, to prove your point too about that, I mean, 1 or 2 games before we did play City away, and we had a spectacular game. We just lost it.
Yeah,
I think we were the first team to score against Manchester City.
That was just better. They were just better. I mean, they have better players than we do. They have a better manager than we do. They're just better. I mean, that's all there is.
That on the day, I mean, to be honest, on the day, sure, they were better. But I will say that there's not many teams that prevent Manchester City's forwards from not scoring and lose because their center defenseman did. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that'd be like if Rice and Souček scored for us. So for us, that would make sense because all our defenders score for us. But
although not lately, but yes, generally you're right.
Yeah, but because I mean, you think about it. Obviously, Aguero finally got off the schneid, but I mean, we were the first team to score against Manchester City in all competitions. No, I'm sorry, not all competitions, but in the league since December. And because we went for it. Now, I will say, and I definitely do appreciate all the back and forth in the comments, and I don't want to sound like I'm arguing with anybody, but I will say that you do go up against Manchester United going for it because that's not a team that's used to teams going for it. They're used to teams setting up defensively. We're going to lose 1-0, 2-1, whatever.
Yeah.
When you go for it, you get the results that Tottenham got from them. Sheffield.
I must admit, I agree with that comment. Well, that comment you just put up, what Mark said, 100% bang on. Mm-hmm. When I looked at the bench, it shows you, and I'll be honest with you, out of everything, forget the result, forget what happened at Old Trafford. When you look at the bench, that's frightening. When you've got 4 under 23 players on there.
I can't, something I said on Twitter before the match, shortly before the match, and I do think Moyes got it wrong. All right, I don't want to. I'm not trying to defend Moyes or bail him out in this situation, but he is always hamstrung by the size of our squad and how thin our squad is, and I don't blame him for that. I blame David Sullivan for that. I blame Gold Sullivan and Brady for that always. So I think, I don't think he should have started Mark Noble. I would rather have seen him start Benrahma. Again, I thought he set up way too defensively. Pushing all that aside, when you lose a Masuaku, you lose an Ogbonna, then all of a sudden you can't play Lingard and you lose a Fornals at the last minute. That's a problem with a thin squad like ours. That's a big problem. So, I mean, he didn't have as much to choose from as he would have liked. Even the fact that he put Lanzini on late on. I mean, Lanzini's done very little for us all season, other than the great goal against Tottenham. He hasn't really performed much or produced much. He's never really come back from his injury of a few years ago. So I think the thin squad is a huge problem for us.
It's a worry.
Again, if Moyes, where I give Moyes a lot of credit is what he's done with us all season long with a squad like that. I think he deserves a lot of credit. I think the kicker for me was Noble. I mean, I just don't see how it does. And he's listen. I mean, we all love him for his loyalty, etc. He's slow. He's losing his skill. He can't keep up with the pace. He's a defensive midfielder. We have 2 excellent defensive midfielders already. We had 5 at the back already. Do you know what I mean? We don't need all that defending. It's too much.
Don't you think though, Lee? If you was weighing it up, the choice, would you rather have had Noble in there than Ben Johnson? Because I thought Ben Johnson was terrible.
Ben Johnson had a rough game. I mean, this was one of those to me when I was wondering if we would do what we did against Villa, which was throw Fredericks in there on Kufal's side, as opposed to putting Johnson over with Cresswell. Throw Fredericks in there over on Sufal's side because Sufal really struggled with Rashford last time. That wasn't so much the case this time. I think I would have chosen, I don't know. I wouldn't have put a third defensive midfielder in there, and I wouldn't have put Mark Noble in there at all. Sorry. I just wouldn't have.
I think kind of just thinking about the comment about, the bench being full of kids, I think this season, if there's a certain point that we know that we're not going to make European football, so let's say we finish between like 7th and 10th, and we know that we're not going to be any lower than 10th and like any higher than 7th.
Yeah.
I think we should give some of the kids some playing time for a couple reasons.
Yeah.
One, what's the point of having them if you're not ever going to play them? 2, we have seen that there's been a handful of kids obviously come up and have played pretty decent. Granted, Ben Johnson didn't have his greatest of games, but he has had some good moments.
He has. He has.
But I think, if for whatever reason somebody starts to shine, it would benefit, with a loan or maybe, transfer, whatever the case may be. But I think you need to know what you have in them. Connor Coventry, he was on the bench. I mean, dude's what, like, he's about to age out, it seems like.
Isn't he like 23 or something like that?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these youngsters are not ready, though.
Right.
And they're not going to be ready. They're not going to be ready.
Yeah.
I mean, because listen, you guys know, if you're 22, 23 years old, it's time. You know what I mean? You're not breaking in at that age. You're not going to get in. You're just not.
It's not even the age part. It's I think it does say a lot to the fact that we've had 2 or 3 different managers still not play these guys. So I mean, it's obviously something on the player. So I mean, I do agree with you guys on that point for sure.
I'll be honest with you.
Connor Coventry is 20. He's 20. Now I have to say, so he's.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be 20. He's going to be 21 next week. All right, it's March 25th. This is going to be 21 next week, which means like it's kind of this season, or he's going to have to start looking elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get to 20, 21 years old, you're not out of the academy. You're off to. I just knocked over my stapler. You're off to League One, basically. You know what I mean? You're off to Belgium or whatever. With who's our guy who went to Belgium? Who's gone now?
Josh Cullen.
Josh Cullen, right? I always got him.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I mean, it's doing great in Belgium. That's fine. Belgium is kind of like League One, League Two type level. Once you get past Anderlecht and a couple of other clubs, it's small country, small league. So yeah, everybody always wants to start the kids, right? Play the kids, and I'm not against it, but there's a reason they're the kids. And James, you're right. Some of them aren't ready.
No, they're not ready, mate.
we have real professionals working in the academy. All right, I know we don't have scouts, but Paul Konchesky looks after all the players on loan from the academy. All right, we talked about it on the show a few months ago. We have obviously in the management team we have Kevin Nolan, we have Stuart Pierce. Aside from Moyes, we have Alan Irvine. We have a good management team. We have people in place to shepherd these kids along. If they're not making it, I really, it's hard for me to blame the club. It's maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe we didn't scout well enough, but they're just not good enough.
I'll tell you what the problem is with that, because I've done a bit of, I've spoke to a few people in regard to this subject.
Yeah.
And what it is, when Chelsea get youngsters, they loan all their players out all over the place. Right, anywhere and everywhere they go, from Fulham.
Yes, they do.
Doncaster.
They have a gigantic squad, and they loan half the players out. Yeah.
And what they do, they loan out about 50 players, and basically, when they come back, they get reports, and basically when the reports come back, if 10 of them are worthy players, they get rid of the 40. They just release them or sell them or whatever. Right. With West Ham have only got about a batch of about 25. And we're expecting 10 of them to be decent, and sometimes you ain't going to get that. Do you know what I mean?
Nobody's going to get that. Nobody. I don't.
No.
Is there an academy in the world that produces at that rate? I mean, does Barcelona, Bayern Munich, does anybody produce at that rate? I don't think so. That's what I'm saying.
No.
I think we're expecting way too much out of our academy.
I mean, I think also with Chelsea, you see the production of their youth because they made Champions League with a whole squad of youth players last year. They couldn't bring anybody in. And, they still got fourth place. So I think I definitely agree. Obviously their academy is different. Yeah, I get Foe. He did say Ajax as well, and I would agree with him.
Yeah.
Although I think they kind of do it a little different in the sense of like they have their youth play and they just beat up on everybody else in that league, and then they just sell the players and just wash, rinse, and repeat. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously I'm not sitting here saying
I agree with that comment. I agree with Vernon's comment there, where you just said about the defenders.
Yeah, we tend to turn out pretty good defenders, and even if you look at Declan Rice, who's a defensive midfielder, we've got a good defensive midfielder in the academy. We don't seem to produce anybody who can perform up front, and I know those are the hardest players to produce, but we don't seem to have produced that in a long time.
Yeah, the most promising player tore his spleen and couldn't play football for 10 months.
But you know what? Sully said it brilliantly on the show I done, right? When we look at our hammer of the years, for this year, they're all defensive.
All of
Rice,
them, absolutely. Yes.
Kafal, Dawson,
Souček. Yep.
Souček. There's not one attacker, and that is a problem. Because really,
it's been like that forever, though, James. I mean, last season you could have made Antonio Hammer of the year. I think you could have made an argument for it for the way he played after the restart. I thought Declan was a good choice, but the other candidate was Ogbonna. Same thing. Go back, and I mean, unless you have somebody, was there not a Hammer of the year? I can't remember. The year we stayed up.
I think Fabianski got it that year.
I think you did too.
Fabianski had like the most saves because we had a shit defense.
It's very rare when an attacker is Hammer of the year. And I'll tell you this, Happy Hammer's comment, I hate to say it, but he's right on, man. Our under-23s, everybody was so impressed with them walking through the second division of Premier League 2 last season, but that was the second division of Premier League 2. You know what I mean? That was the championship of the reserves. Mm-hmm. Now they're in the Premier League of the reserves, and they are rock bottom. And I mean rock bottom. I'm sorry. They are rock bottom.
They lost 5-0 the other day against Manchester City. So
that's what I'm saying. And it's not because they're all playing in the first team either. There's plenty of guys down there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not because they're all, there's a lot. It's a big squad. They're not good enough.
Out of the whole of our under 23s, I can probably count 3 who could go far. Yeah. That's Odobekio, the striker, Alves, and maybe Trott. If he the goalkeeper, if he gets out on loan a bit more and gets a bit more, he could be decent. The rest of them, Nathan Nolan's no good. Colin Coventry doesn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's poor. It's poor.
Yeah, it's poor. No, I'm with you. It is, and it's a shame because it's, as you know, we call ourselves the Academy of Football. We're known as the Academy of Football, and we love to talk about Mark Noble and Declan Rice, and those have been great success stories. But percentage-wise, we don't hit on a lot of players. We don't, and a club like ours has to hit on more players because we're never going to be able to go out and spend the way the big clubs spend. Or if we could do it, we won't do it. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I think Neil is right about Ben Johnson. He's had some good games. He's had some impressive performances. He's not there yet. And I wouldn't mind seeing him go out on loan either. The problem is, Neil, we can't send him out on loan. I think we need him.
The only thing I will say in defence of Johnson is you've got a right-footed player playing on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Now, when good teams will figure that out and basically go, right, we're pushing on his left-hand side because he's awkward there. And if I think he should be a backup for Cathal. Cafal's your starting right back. And if Cathal gets injured, suspended, or whatever, he comes in and covers for him.
Well, you can't keep playing. Fredericks can play on that side too, and I'm not a big Fredericks fan. I don't know if Wally's here. I'm not a Fredericks fan, but he can play on that side. And he's last time a couple of times he's come in, he's been fine. He's been okay. So, those guys are young, and they're again, you have to trust what the manager sees, and you have to trust that. You have to trust his judgment. You really do. You have to trust Moyes' judgment, and I think that's all we can do. But every time we crow about starting the kids, again, it's the same thing. They're very uneven because they're young, and either they're too young or they're not ready, or both.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I do. I agree with you on that. I'm going to ask you a question there, right? It's going to heat up the old chat for us. Right. Well,
I gotta say the chat's doing pretty well tonight. The chat is active. Right. And Nipun, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Anyway, go ahead.
If in the summer Manchester City come in with, say, I'm going to say £120 million bid for Declan Rice, right? Just for example, it's just like for an example, and you know that 120 million is going to be spent on rebuilding the squad. Do you accept it?
No. Silly, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, you can. I think a couple of reasons that I would say yes to that is because I do think that Rice is soon to go. I think there's maybe this year and maybe next year are the only years that his price is going to go up, especially if he does well in the England squad. Like if England go and they win the Euros, or if they go and they win the World Cup. Or I guess that wouldn't be for another couple of years, right? Or no, that's next. Anyway, it doesn't matter when
it's confusing now because everything's thrown off. But yeah, it should be next year.
Next winter, I think.
Yeah.
Next winter, it's stupid because.
So if he goes and he does well with them, like if he gets them back to the semis, if they get to the final, whatever the case may be, that's obviously going to drive his price up too. But I mean, you think if you give one player for 120 million pounds and you know that it's going to get reinvested, you could probably get maybe 4 or 5 decent, like halfway decent players, or maybe like 2 or 3 like really, really top tier players. Why not? But like I said, if we know, because I mean, we could rebuild a squad. We could get strikers. We could get another goalkeeper for that. We can replace Declan Rice for that.
I think 80s Geezer is agreeing with you, and I understand what you're saying. Because James, let me ask you this, James. What would you do? Would you sell him for that?
Well, I'm going to be realistic here. Yeah, if we're getting 120 million, and that is being reinvested in the team, every pound goes back into the team, and we go out and buy a goalkeeper, 2 strikers, 2 midfielders, which we can do it. Like we found Cathal, we found Souček. There's players out there we can go and get. And we turn from being a team that's top 10 to a team that's like top 7, top 16. Then you've got to do it. Because 120 million. Let's remember one thing, lads, he's only one injury away from going down.
Yeah.
Like if he got injured for any reason, 120 million pound bid is no man's bigger than the club. And that's what it is.
But let me just throw this out there. Okay. And here's why I said no. I want us someday to be the type of club that can build around a player like that. And this is why I come back to what Happy Hammer says. Build around Souček and Rice. That's our axis. That's our core. Those are young guys. Souček's like 26, I think. Rice is 21 now, I think.
Yeah.
You're talking a minimum. Suchek's got 5-6 more seasons at that position minimum. What's Mark Noble, like 34? So Suchek's got a good few years left. Rice has got a very solid decade left, no doubt about that. I mean, if we could keep those guys as our midfield axes for like another 5 years and build around them and show that we're willing to build around players, build around academy players, build around players we've recruited, I think that's how we start to bring in better players and more players. And I think I think we're more likely to turn into a top 6 contender with Declan Rice than without him, if you want to know the truth. That's how I feel.
But
I know it is. I know. And I know I'm being unrealistic because I know he'll leave eventually. But I'll tell you this. I have a weird I think this is like saying that stripper really liked me. You know what I mean? It's probably not true. But I think maybe he's a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? I think that stripper was really into me. I'm not really a strip club guy, but you know what I'm saying. I think he's maybe a little bit different. I think he kind of wants to stay. He seems like a bro. He seems,
the
some of these other guys.
Lee,
yeah.
The problem is the owners have not got
always.
The
problem is always the owners. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I tell you what, if we had decent owners, I wouldn't sell him. But we haven't got decent owners, and the problem is we're always one season away from having a bad season. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right, and we spoke about this on here previously, right?
Yes.
We're doing well this season, but what the fear is how we go on next season, if that makes sense, because we usually drop off an edge of
We've never had 2 good seasons in a row because West Ham United historically have never followed up a good season with another good season ever. I mean, go back as far as you want,
I think if I were the owners of the club, right, whether it be the owners we have now, different owners in the future, whatever the case may be, I think if you have a season like this where it's blatantly obvious that we are massively overachieving, at least from compared to last season, you go up to Rice, you go up to whoever you need to talk to, and like, look, we got 6th place with a whole bunch of defenders. Hammer of the Year is a guy who we bought a year ago. Give him however many potato salads he wants. We're going to spend every penny that we logically can on whoever to push forward next season. Because, I mean, let's be 100% obvious or clear right now.
Yep.
If we finish for Euros or if we finish for Champions League, fantastic. I'm loving it. But there's no way we're getting out of group stage with the current club that we have now because we are so thin.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's qualifying is brilliant, but after
it's great. I'll never take that away. Just like, with the bowling season, I'm not taking away the fact that we finished where we did and qualify for Euros. But, at the same time, like, I think there is that realistic aspect of it. Now, granted, we could definitely go in there, have a nice season, get into the knockout. But, I mean, we need to improve, and we have at all levels it needs to show. So real quick, I'll have a question for you two, kind of going off on the $120 million question that James asked.
Mm-hmm.
If you get £120 million for Declan Rice and you use all of that money to build a new training facility and not spend it on players, do you sell Rice for that?
Never. Because at the end of the day, the training facility does not matter in my eyes, because we've always had that training facility, and we always will have it. It matters what's on the pitch. You know what I mean? People in how can I put this? People in America, Australia, East London, Manchester, they don't really worry about the training facility. They rather about if West Ham's got a good team on a Saturday or Sunday or a Monday. Do you know what I mean? And that's.
I don't think it's a bad question though, in a way, James, because that thing is an embarrassment. And you look at, I mean, this. I think the number one thing that's going to attract players is money. The number two thing is status, Champions League football, European football, right? I think right after that is the quality where they have to go to work every day. I think it's important to them. I really do. And we have exceptionally poor facilities. I mean, they're really bad. Now, we sold Rio Ferdinand years ago and spent the money on refurbishing a stand at the Boleyn, which lasted another 15 years and then it was gone, right? So that was kind of a stupid investment, really. Of course, there was a change in ownership after that. So I'd hate to see something like that happen. My feeling is every player on the pitch is one injury away from being finished for his career. Dean Ashton, Jack Collison. We've seen these guys who were really great players come through and have these terrible injuries. I think you could throw Lanzini in there too. He had to finish his career, but he's never been the same. Every player is one injury away. I hate the thought that once again we're going to sell Rio Ferdinand, Frank Lampard, Glenn Johnson, Michael Carrick. Look at the England team of the mid 2000s. They were all West Ham Academy players. Paul Ince, Jermaine Defoe. I know the situations were different for different players, but all those guys were our players at one point.
See,
Joe Cole, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do what Selly's talking about doing, which is you go to him and you make a pitch, and you say, "Hey, Deck, we finished top 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. We were massively improved over last season. We're going to continue to invest. We're going to build this club around you and Thomas Souček, and you are our captain, and you are the man going forward for West Ham, and we are going to be in European football. And if we don't deliver, then he can leave."
But the problem is, though, Lee, since 2016, or I think it was 2015, when Leicester won the league, they've had to sell a player each year. Like each year, they sold Kante, then they sold Maguire, they sold Ben Chilwell. So they've sold players. They've sold Mahrez, right?
Yeah.
Each
They're
year
about to sell Madison too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I would rather be in Leicester's shoes than ours, if that makes sense, because they're always competing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're in Europe. They're competing to top 4. And when I look at Leicester, they've had to sacrifice for a gain, if that makes sense. Like they've lost one of their best players.
Yeah,
but
I know.
One thing Leicester's got that we haven't got is a good recruitment system. They go and get rid of Madison, get rid of Maguire, and they bring in the Turkish centre of Sininchu, who's better.
Yeah, and that striker too, who got that hat trick, who we were actually linked with like 3 years ago, Iheanacho or whatever his name was.
Yeah, who's the poor guy whose mother died on Mother's Day or something, and he like wears number 14 because I can't remember the whole story, but he scored a hat trick like on the date of his
Mother's Day in England,
Mother's Day, in England, yeah. So it really was a nice story. But yes, you're right. They went out on Sunday, guys better. If I trusted us to do that, because Tottenham has kind of pursued that same model over the years, right? I mean, when they sold Bale, they brought in Christian Eriksen. They spent some of that money poorly, but they spent well enough that they were in a Champions League final 2 years ago. To give them credit,
right? Yeah.
Without Gareth Bale, and now of course he's back. But if I trusted, if we had a scouting network, I might be up for that. I mean, when have we ever sold a high profile player and then replaced him with 1 to 2 players or 3 players who were actually better and made us better? Has that ever happened? I mean, when we sold, go back into 15, 20 years, go back to Rio, go back to all those guys I was talking about. Have we ever invested that money wisely in other players and under any ownership?
Well, I think there's. Go ahead, James.
I can't remember. I really can't. I remember us ever really.
That's what I'm saying.
Poorly. You know what I mean?
That's why I don't. I just feel as though your point about Leicester is excellent. And if we had, and I know the poor owner died in the helicopter crash a couple of years ago after we played them. That was really,
playing us,
after playing us, it's a horrible thing, obviously. But I mean, Leicester have solid ownership. Leicester have solid direction, a board management. If we had anything like that, if we'd ever had anything like that, I'd feel differently. But we've never had a particularly good owner ever in the history of the club, and certainly don't have one now. I'm tired of that model failing over and over and over and over again, and watching us populate the England team with guys who play for Manchester United and Chelsea and Liverpool and all over the map, Tottenham, because we've sold them and we've blown up. We've done nothing with the money. I just want to hang on to one of these guys for once. That's
the problem is the problem is with this is that we are when we weigh it up, you got Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham, right? That's your top 6. That's your core 6. Then the 7th place team is Leicester, if we're going to be realistic here. Then you got Everton. Yeah. And then basically you got the likes of us, Wolves.
You got Wolves in there, and sometimes you're going to have
sometimes Southampton,
Southampton's going to, or even a
Yeah.
Palace will sneak in there. Somebody you don't expect will sneak in there. Yeah,
And that's how far behind we are. Like, and let's be honest, Leicester are not the seventh, their worst team in the league. Like, they're one of the best teams in the league because they got Barnes, they got Maddison, they got Vardy, they've got a good solid defence. Like, they go and pick up that Fofana from Saint-Étienne, and he ends up being like a fine for the season. You know what I mean?
I knew he would be. By the way, I knew he would be. I love Fofana, and everybody was disappointed when he left. But I'm going to tell you, this club puts a lot of players in the Premier League who end up being successful. I'm just saying. Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, you look at Leicester last year. Leicester, honestly, they should be in the Champions League, but they're one of the few teams that were hurt by the restart because they were on such a kick. They were second?
Yes.
Before
and they
the restart.
it. Yep.
Yeah, and they got down to fifth or something like that. So but I mean, no, you're 100% correct. I mean, if we were the kind of team, because I think that is the next level, right? Is like that Leicester format, and then let's say if we had that Leicester format where we're continuously finishing top 5 realistically, right? And you have a new stadium where you can put 60,000 of your own fans in there, then I think that's when you go and you're like, okay, Maddison, we're keeping you because we're about to go and get we're going to make a bid for Haaland or something like that. Maybe not specifically him, but, João Felix, whoever the case, like a big name player that's going to attract a lot of attention to the club, right? It's like, we're keeping you, we'll re-sign you because we got you for $2.5 million. Here's 25, 30, whatever you want. But we're also going to go out and buy some players who were – so obviously there's a tier system to it, right? Especially in this league, because I think when you're on one of those top tiers and you start to decline, then you're like Arsenal, right? Arsenal right now are definitely – they're not a top-tier club. They're not a shit club by any means, but they're not
this
top.
season. They're not, yeah.
No, this season they're one of those teams. They look at who they've bought. They're buying a bunch of teenagers who just so happen to be doing really well right now.
But the thing is, though, Arsenal have declined, though.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
they've started to drop away. And what the problem is, a lot of the teams have got better, where Arsenal have got worse. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
As Arsenal are coming down, the likes of Leicester and Everton have come up. So they're like, look, even Everton in there. Like, Everton have got rich owners, and Everton ain't that far away. Like, from being,
definitely.
No, they're not.
They had a great summer. They just had injuries at the worst time, and they've messed up a lot of games they should have won, honestly. But
they're a good listen. We got a great result off of who beat them over the weekend. They lost to Burnley. I think. They lost to Burnley,
Burnley.
At home. They lost to Burnley over the weekend, so that was great for us. That really saved us. But yeah, Everton are not far away either. Nolan and I have talked about this a lot on this show. And Sally, you know this. We're basically the Southern Everton in so many ways. We should be where they are, but
it's the same as that club.
It's the same club, exactly.
We just have a bigger stadium. That's the only difference.
We have a bigger stadium. I think we have more fans personally in a bigger stadium, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, the point is that we could function a lot the way they do, and in fact, we're doing really well right now with their old manager. But yeah, I don't see. You're right, James. They're not far away. I don't have faith in this model of trying to do what Leicester have done, what Tottenham have done, and say let's sell our players and go out and buy younger, cheaper play. I mean, I guess one thing that's I want to fight it.
One thing that is honestly kind of crazy is to a degree, we have done what Leicester and Everton have done. We just haven't sold our big name player yet, right? Because I mean, look at the current squad, right? Our best players are players that we found in the middle of nowhere for the cheap, who have just played out of their minds, at least recently, right? And that's exactly what Leicester have done. Everton, I think behind the pull of their manager, they've been able to get a few more signings of a little higher caliber. Like they got James Rodriguez for free. Like that dude is not terrible at all.
Crazy. No,
he's played at Real. He's played in Champions League. He's won the Champions League.
Yes.
He's been linked to Manchester United, and he goes there because I guess their manager. But
they've also had a little result with people like Calvin Lewin in their team, who's turned into a gem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who's the other one they signed? They signed someone else. what's his name? Alan and Decore.
yeah, the Brazilian,
Decore.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I'll go right there too. I'll say because that kind of reminds me of something you were saying earlier. Is when you go into transfer markets, it's always hit and miss. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you bring in. It's always hit and miss because how long has Messi been linked with City? And I think if Messi comes to City now, he's not doing anything. Like he'll have his moments, but Messi is getting absolutely brutalized in the Premier League.
I agree with you, Sully. I'm with you on this. Yep.
He plays way too pretty a football in the league that only has 3 teams, and look at this year. Granted, I mean,
Craig Dawson. What Craig Dawson tackle?
Yeah, and it's not even a Craig Dawson tackle. It's a tackle against a team that always sets up defensively, right? You go into Burnley. Burnley are beating the dog shit out of him.
Watch him play Burnley. He'll leave the game forever. He'll just be like, I'm done.
Well, but I mean that's just my point. I mean, look at what Payet turned into. Nobody knew who the hell Payet was unless you play with him in FIFA, or you played against Marseille. Payet he's a gem.
I must admit, when I know no one knew Payet, but he did have a lot. One of the most assisted. He was assisting the most in Europe at the time.
You're not wrong, and I mean, and obviously, he did have a record. I mean, obviously, Soufal and Souček, they were on the best team in the Czech Republic. Now, granted, this is the Czech Republic, whatever, but at the same time, I mean, they could have come here and been terrible. But Soufal and Souček came in and made an instant impact. Now, obviously, like I said, where it's a gamble. Look at Zaza. Zaza was on Juventus, and not a bad Juventus, but he came in and didn't do anything.
Italian international, and
it didn't do anything. Now, whether that was because he didn't want to, whether that was because the Premier League was too hard for him, which I don't accept because Italy is not the easiest league either. But but it's all a risk. Chelsea, look at all the money Chelsea spent this year, and their best players aren't even playing well right now. They've had moments, but all their German players aren't that great. Pulisic is always injured.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, they're still getting results because their best players, like Abraham, Mason Mount, and look at what he's turned into. Yeah. Granted, he's not a transfer, but
he's the one I'd most like to have at West Ham because if we had Mason Mount at West Ham, Declan would stay to be with his bro. I really believe that. By the way, Dimitri Payet, 129 appearances for Saint Etienne. Just saying, we put a lot of good players in there, but no, I mean it is. I mean, I think Sally, what you're saying, it's always a risk, and you have a bird in the hand argument here, right? I mean, you have Declan Rice, you have a guy who is arguably like 1/5 the value of the entire club at this point. He's a 120 million pound player, or maybe a 500 million pound club when you get right down to it. In all honesty, with our assets, the guy is like 20% of the club. I want to see us stick with what we know for once, but I understand the argument for selling high because James, you're right. One injury and his value gets cut in half or worse. Or, I mean, it seems highly unlikely because of his skill, but what if the guy just doesn't have a good season next season?
Yeah, but what happens? But can we match his ambitions? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
I don't think we can because I think he's going to be one of the world's best midfielders, and I think he's going to be able to go wherever he wants in a couple of years. That's why I hate to see him leave us now for a Manchester United. You know what I mean? When Declan goes, I want him to go to Real or Juventus or Bayern or I mean, I know that's not likely.
He's not leaving England. There's no way.
I don't think he will either. I agree with you, Sally, but that's what I would prefer to see. I want to see him go to, I guess Manchester City you'd have to throw in there as well, obviously for obvious reasons, but I want to see him go to a giant, And I know Manchester United, they're giants, but they're kind of has-beens in a way too. Do you know what I mean? I know they're second and they just beat us and all that, but they're not what they were under Ferguson. We all know that. We all understand that. I want to see him, if he's going to leave us, I want to see him go, to one of the 5 or 6 most successful clubs in the world.
Vernon has a great point. He said, hindsight is 2020. Imagine getting £50 million for Lanzini. And you can say the same thing about Diop.
Yes, you
could. He was for about £60 million. And I guarantee you, there's not a single West Ham fan that at that time again, if you go back and play that, sell Lanzini, let Diop come in, have a great season, sell Diop. That's 111 million pounds right there for two players. The only thing is, again, to James's point, and I guess to most knowledgeable fans' points, where's that money going? Oh, we don't have money to spend on transfer. Yeah, okay, sure. Because you bought new turf for the training ground. Okay, that's 100.
We bought a new chandelier for David Sullivan's house. Evidently,
yeah.
Where all his money goes.
It's a new carpet.
Yeah, we bought
it's a brand new carpet. Yeah, except this year is blue.
We bought new temporary stands to put in our world-class stadium. With zip ties tying them together. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's a valid point. When we had this discussion a couple of years ago, when Diop was playing so well, and we first started the channel, Tim and I had this discussion, and I said 2 years ago, I said, do not sell Issa Diop for 60 million pounds. Don't sell him for any amount of money. He's 23 years old. He's a great young player. He's ours. Keep him at all costs. You know what? That was not very smart. That was a bad decision. Obviously it's not mine to make, but that was not a good take. All right. That was a take that did not age well. And I will be the first to admit to that. So yeah, I mean, I understand the logic behind selling Declan Rice. I understand the logic behind selling Antonio. Charlie talks about that a lot when he comes on. I get it. I do. Yeah. Rice, to me, I want him to be different. And maybe I'm just imagining this and projecting this onto him, but I want him to be somebody who isn't like everybody else and who maybe says, okay, West Ham, I'll give you, I'm 21 years old. I got another 10 years minimum of top flight, top level football to play. I'll give you 2 seasons. I'll give you 2 more seasons. You know
and he very well could be that player because I don't think there's been anything that we've seen that would show anything to the contrary. I mean,
I don't either.
He gets excited to play at Mason Mount. I get excited to play at my homie I grew up with too. Like that's not necessarily a sign of wanting to go to. And I know nobody's bringing that up as a counter argument. I know that. I'm saying that's probably the only thing that you can point to and be like, oh, well, he wants to play for Chelsea. Like, sure, everybody wants to play with their homie, but everybody who is British, who's in the Premier League has friends on teams that they grew up playing with in systems. But I mean, there's a bunch of good points. And I think when it comes to Rice and selling him, keeping him, I honestly don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer to it because you can always look at different examples, right? I mean, he could be the next Mark Noble, but a better version. He could be somebody. I mean, if you compare it to Leicester, look at the starting 11 for the final game of the season that Leicester had when they won the championship, or the league rather, not the championship, versus what they have now. But
let's put it this way. Right? If you sold him and you bought a load of players, but you won a trophy of some kind, either League Cup or FA Cup, that's worth more than, you know what I mean?
Buy your arm off for a Betway cut, my friend. Don't disrespect
you know what? I would do just about anything for a trophy. I would. I have to say, I would do just about anything for a trophy. We haven't won a trophy in your lifetimes, and we haven't won one since I was 6 years old, and I had no idea it was even happening. So, I would. I'm with you, actually, James.
Yeah.
A trophy. Yeah. These guys, all these legends we have, all these great players. I mean. The reason they play is to win titles, and we never do that. So I mean, it's frustrating, and if it won us something, I would make that trade. Of course I would. Even a League Cup, I would take that in a heartbeat. Of course I would.
And I think honestly, the reason why I think there's a lot of divide in it, and granted, there still might be the same conversation had if our board were different and more ambitious. But I think a big reason why there is a lot of talk to not sell him, and I'm not saying anything to saying that we should. I'm just saying I think a lot of the reason why there's talk to not sell him is because we know for a fact, everybody knows that money is not getting reinvested properly.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I do. I think that's what it is. And 80s Geezer makes a really good point here. One of those guys goes down, and one of those guys goes down, and it's over. Honestly, one of those guys goes down, and we may not pick up 6 more points the whole season. In all seriousness, I mean, those guys are the heart and soul. They're the axis. If that axis breaks, everything falls apart. Then you got to Then you have to put Mark Noble in game after game. Then you're stuck, with a situation where you have to shift everything, and that's, we're treading on thin ice here as it is. In all honesty. So you brought up a little while ago the hammer of the year over the last few years, and I was curious, so I
Payet's
pulled it
got to
up.
be the last attacking player to win that, right?
Well, let's see if I can get this maybe a little more readable. I mean,
Antonio won
looking
it.
at the
Oh no, he did get hammer of the
Antonio
year.
won
Wow.
it. Antonio won it. Of course, he was a
Donovan
winger.
won it?
It was a winger, but
That's
he was an
wild.
attacking player. He's an attacking player. Payet and Antonio. But other than that, you guys have a good point. Mark Noble, defensive player, defensive midfielder. Winston Reed, center
Scott
back.
Parker
Well, Scott Parker was those.
was
I
a
mean,
midfielder.
it was a midfielder,
Yeah.
right? So no pure and Antonio was a winger back then. Remember, in 2017.
I guess Arnautovic was our last.
Arnautovic was
Yeah.
the last quote unquote pure striker to win it, and even he was a converted winger. But look at this. Go as far back as after the Tevez season, you have a keeper, you have a largely defensive midfielder, you have defensive midfielder, defender, center back, defensive midfielder, left back. Then you have Payet, Antonio, and Arnautovic. Then it's back to Fabianski and Rice. It's mostly defensive players.
1, 2.
Well, I
It's
think a lot of
mostly-
that too is. I think a lot of that too, right, has got to be the fact that most of those seasons we weren't good. I mean, the seasons that the team was somewhat respectable, I guess, with the exception of 2018. Oh no, 2018 actually we had I think we were fighting for seventh. So I guess
2018 this was the season, if I remember correctly, when he kept us up with his goals. We fought relegation that season.
Yeah.
We fought relegation that season. That was when Boyce came in the first time, and Arnautovic kept. And then 2019 was that first. This was that first Pellegrini season, which was pretty good. And then we had last season where Moyes had to come back in again, and it's weird to think about, but the restart was the end of last season. Do you know what I mean? We think about it as being part of this season, it was the end of last season. So
but do you know what no one's looking at? Look at the runners up.
Yeah,
Look at the runners up on the right hand side. Look
keeper,
how many defensive players.
Defender, keeper. Defensive midfielder, defender. Yeah. So if you look at the last decade, approximately, most of these players are either keepers or defensive players.
Yeah. Well, I guess to finish what I was saying earlier, is the club just wasn't good. So I mean, obviously, perfect example is Fabianski. Like I said, Fabianski won it because he had the most saves out the league. Because we had a terrible statistic to have, but because if you have the most saves, it means you're giving up the most shots, right? So I mean, obviously that's why he won that one. Not taking it away from him because it goes a long way to say that you had the most saves in the league. But I think when you have to be a good defensive team, obviously your best players are going to be your defensive players, right? Because we're not scoring goals. We're scoring goals now, but guess who's scoring them? Defensive players.
And I'll tell you something, Sully. You brought that up earlier. It's a good point. We don't necessarily want Thomas Souček scoring all our goals. He scored 8 goals this season. But I'll tell you this, he hasn't scored lately. And which, again, I mean, that's okay because he's not there to score. But he's been a little off the boil. I feel as though our production has dropped off a little bit, in part because we're seeing less out of him. And I think part of the reason is we need him to be more of a defensive player. But we're not. Yeah. We haven't made up for that lack of scoring. Nobody up front. Like we haven't had a Benrahma or a Bowen step in, or even Antonio's been a lot.
I think with that I would disagree because Dawson has scored 3 or 4 goals.
Lingard
scored a couple goals. Antonio's had a couple chip in. So I think to a degree, yes, it has been changed. Go ahead.
It is a bit of a worry though when Lingard comes in and he starts scoring before our own strikers start scoring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I listen. I love Lingard, and I think we absolutely have to sign him permanently when the season's over. Let me just say this: the fact that he steps in and he's immediately our second best player behind Rice, maybe third best behind Rice and Souček. That's not really good for us. All right. I mean, that tells you a lot when a guy who's been cast off from Manchester United, who was not, they thought he wasn't good enough, or he was, whatever the problem was, they had a problem with him. He steps in and immediately he's our second, third best player. I love the fact that he's playing for us and that he's doing well. That's not good for us as a club. Do you know what I mean? Institutionally, that's a bad sign for us, I think. That means we're not producing and we don't have players at that level the way we should.
So I will say for Lingard, it's not like we're talking about some bum here who's come in and stepped in and been a baller. Like Lingard has been, like I said in the past, he's been there, done that at every level, of British and European football, right? I guess with the exception of the Championship, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's not like he was bad, and it's not as if he got replaced or kind of silent on a crappy team, right? I mean, I know Manchester United might be down, but they are still second in the league, right? And
yeah, that's true. They are, yeah.
And I think you have Daniel James who's coming and he's just kind of caught fire. Obviously, Rashford and Lingard, those guys are now, or not Lingard, Rashford and Martial, they're great. Fernandez coming in doesn't help anything. Pogba coming back doesn't help anything. So I mean, it's not like he's getting replaced by people that you don't know about, And I think it just shows his true class to come into a team who, was already having a pretty good year, to come in and step in and just be that guy already. I think that shows his character, but I think it also goes to show, that he would still fit in. Like if damn well seeing the production he's done here at Manchester, you're like, oh yeah, we could probably still use that. Because I mean, look at that dude that Manchester United got from Ajax, who doesn't even touch the pitch. Right. Spent like £80 million for a dude who rides the bench.
They can do that, though. That's what big clubs can do that we can't do. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, that's my point.
Yeah.
We can't afford to have a Lingard just chilling on the bench. So when he comes in and he's a baller like that, I think that's a good thing for both parties. I don't think it's necessarily a negative.
See, Fo, I think they are our competition. Come on, are we not in a champion? Are we not Champions League?
Come on, Fo.
We have to be. This is what killed me about Sunday.
I respect Fo's opinion, right? But come on.
I do too. Fo was great. I love Fo, but I don't know if he's serious about that or not. But I disagree. I do. Right now, they are our competition. They have to be.
Right. Before the Manchester City game where they won, they lost to Sheffield United. They drew with West Brom. Mm-hmm. They drew with Chelsea playing bad. They drew with Palace.
They were there for the taking. Charlie, make some calls, will you?
And even to prove James's point, we went up to Liverpool, we played against Liverpool, let them take the game from us, and then Liverpool messed around and lost to all the B clubs that we've been bad against. They lost to Brighton, they lost to Burnley, they lost to Fulham.
Yes. They took our place. They did what we always do. They lost to the
They did what we should have done.
Yeah,
because those are teams that played. I mean, and to a degree, I think we should be just like this. We should play like a team that has nothing to lose. Because guess what? We're not getting relegated this year.
We have nothing.
We mess around and go for it, and whether we get knocked out in the group stage of Champions League next year, guess what? We're having that music playing at the London Stadium, whether people like that place or not. It's going to be packed. It doesn't matter. And I still ride by the fact that if we were winners, like if we had this kind of season every year, London Stadium would not be a conversation. But
I agree with you.
For a different time.
Always agreed with you. Agree with you, Sally.
Yeah. Go ahead, James.
Yes.
I think Sally said it brilliantly on my Hammers Poles one. They were scared of the badge.
Yeah, scared of the badge.
And it's Moyes. It's Moyes. He's scared of the badge. He's scared of the stadium. He's scared of the club. He's scared of Liverpool. He's scared of Manchester United. I'm sorry, it's true. Now the question is, well, this is actually a good question. I mean, you're talking about for Declan here, Kieran. See, I still don't take it, but I'm crazy. That's why. I still don't take it. I don't take it. Do you guys take it?
For Rice? No.
Yes, 100 million plus Lingard. So you're talking about approximately 120 million total deal. If
that 100 million goes out and gets me a couple of midfielders, a goalkeeper, and a couple of strikers, you've got to consider it, ain't you? Like I know he's a world class player, but what are we looking at? The world class player. Let's put it like this. This is the easiest way I can put it. If we go and pay that money, get that money, and we invest it in the team, and we progress as a club, then you can see progression. But what is the point if we're just going to be the same team for the next 5 years? We're just
honestly, if we get £100 million for whatever reason, whether it's available to us, if we sell somebody, I'm rating all the best players in the championship, and I do not care. I'm going after the best keeper. I'm going after the two best strikers. Like Josh King write what you want on this check, bro. Like, come to us. Tchaikovsky probably.
Tony, how about
but-
Tony down there? How about Tony down there at Brentford? Or,
Well, yeah.
this
I mean,
Andrew Anderson
regardless
guy,
of who
yeah.
it is, I'm just saying I'm going after him. Like, there's not a
Yeah.
player in the championship who's not going to be on my team if I got 100 million pounds.
I'll tell you where I'm going. Slavia Prague.
No, just buy the club. How much would it cost for West Ham just to buy Slavia Prague? If West Ham United is a 500 million pound club approximately, and that doesn't seem unreasonable. 600 million, 500 million total valuation, right? Well, Slavia had a tiny, and no disrespect to them because I think they're wonderful. All right, they're wonderful, and they're doing great things for Isla Caton, and they're just, I love Slavia. Okay, so but what I'm saying is, in a small country in a small league, what is it worth? 200 million pounds, maybe total, maybe. We should just buy Slavia Prague and make it like West Ham East.
Make
You know
it a
what,
fun
though?
team.
Slavia East London is fine.
On a
with me.
positive note on that, I think they're going to start being the feeder club. I think they're going to
Well,
be
I
our
think
feeder
they'd be
club.
wonderful, and they we seem to have a good relationship with them. I hope Sullivan doesn't find a way to screw that up because they have Sufal and Suchek have been, to me, there's absolutely no way we are where we are without those two guys. There's no way. I mean, it's particularly Suchek, but really both of them. I mean, there's no way we're talking about Champions League. I think we are 10th, 12th, maybe 14th without those two guys. Seriously. I mean, really think about it. If Mark Noble is our other defensive midfielder,
This
if
year,
we're-
no.
if we're still
tragic.
sticking Fredericks in there, who's fast but he can't defend, if Fredericks is our right back, or we're having to put Ben Johnson in there game after game, or those guys have made us who we are this season. So I'm totally for Slavia being the feeder club and a partnership with Slavia. I think that's brilliant. That's a fantastic idea. I'm just
100%.
waiting for David Sullivan to mess that up somehow, because that's what he does. he takes anything that's great and he screws it up. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Now the question to me is, Vern, Sullivan's he only goes for the best. He's got a lot of contacts in that area. The question to me is, what happens on Sunday? We have Arsenal. We never seem to beat Arsenal. We lost to them earlier in the season. Didn't play too poorly. They scored a couple of goals toward the end of the match, But I didn't think we gave that one away the way we did against Manchester United or Liverpool. I didn't think it was that kind of game. Now, they're rounding into form a little bit. They just beat Tottenham.
They play tomorrow.
Yes, they play tomorrow. That's right. So, which doesn't, to me, I'm not sure I'll say it again. I don't think it hurts teams to play multiple games in a week. I think sometimes they're better. I think they get better when they play more and they don't sit around. But anyway, they do play tomorrow. I think we're a better team than we were when we played them the first time. But but let's be honest, our form has dipped a little bit. I mean, we had a good performance against City, but we lost. We came back and beat Leeds. Manchester United game was not good. So we're not coming in with a huge head of steam here. What do you think Moyes does on Sunday? Do you think he shows Arsenal too much respect? Do you think he goes back to 4 at the back? He plays Fornals and Benrahma and Lingard in the same team? What do you guys think he does? What would you do?
Somebody has said it earlier that our midfield, if we have Suchek, Rice, Sufal, and what was the other one? Dawson, all the regular bunch that we've been starting. Like it's going to be really tough for Arsenal to break down. Now I don't necessarily want to see us set up for Arsenal like we did against Manchester. I want to see us set up how we did. What was it? I think it was against Villa. Put that squad back out there. Go for it. Destroy them. Because granted, Arsenal are on a little bit of an uptick, but they are still giving away so many goals.
Yep.
I think that there will be confidence coming out of Tottenham, but Tottenham didn't go for it. And look what happened there.
Tottenham, they blew that game too, Sully. I mean, Lamela got sent off after he scored that Rabona goal. That's going to be goal of the season, even though Lanzini's was better. He gets sent off. And I mean, Arsenal got a little bit lucky in that sense, right? I think they did.
Yeah, we could easily beat them. We should. Well, I don't want to say easily because there's no such thing as an easy derby, but we should beat them. Honestly, with the club that we have, the confidence that we should have going in it. Lingard's coming back. We should beat those guys. I'm sure if Fornals is healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if Fornals and Lingard are in the starting 11. But we do need to go for it as if it is, as James was saying earlier, that one-off cup game, right? Because that's essentially what every game is from here on out, from now on. Because
Absolutely.
Granted, we have an easier schedule. I do think the United away game was the hardest game that we had for the rest of the season. But
Chelsea's coming up and that's tough, but I think you're right. Yes.
I'm saying because it was away. Chelsea's
I think Chelsea's
home,
at home.
Whether that means anything
Whatever
without
that means.
fans.
But what it is,
Yeah, exactly.
what it is, on paper, I would agree. But there's teams like Brighton away, we never win. Burnley away, we always struggle.
Sure.
Wolves away, we always struggle. So, it's on paper. I'll agree with you, 100%.
It's been different all season. Other than Brighton, and Moyes had another brain freeze against Brighton earlier in the season when I don't know what happened there, but that was in December. We were having to rotate the squad a lot, but it's been different this season. If we stick to our form, okay. If we stick to our form, even if we don't beat Arsenal on Sunday, and I think we should, Sally, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Even if we lose to Arsenal, lose to Chelsea, after that, in theory, as you said, James, it gets a lot easier, right? Because you get Newcastle again, you get Southampton at the end of the season. They've fallen off the face of the earth.
We've got Everton and
Brighton. We've got Everton.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a tough
They'll
one.
be here in London though.
But that's at home. Yeah. Chelsea's at home. Everton's at home. You've got Leicester and you've got Wolves, but you've also got Newcastle, Southampton, Burnley, Brighton. I mean, in theory, those should be 12 points right there. You know what I mean? They should be. And you'd think that we could pick up more against Arsenal. You could pick up more against Wolves, who don't look like anything special right now. Maybe we have Everton, Chelsea at home. You'd hope to get something out of that. If we stick to form, I think there's still a chance we finish in the top 4, certainly in the top 6 or 7, if we stick to form. But as you said, James, that means we've got to go in and beat Burnley away, which we never ever do. We've got to beat Brighton away, which we never ever do. We've got to do things we haven't done in past seasons. This season, we have mostly done those things. All we have to do is keep doing them.
Yeah.
The thing is. Go ahead.
I think we get a lot of confidence if, granted, big if, capital I, capital F, if we beat Arsenal and we beat Chelsea,
That's crazy. It's true.
At that point we'll be, the top team in London. And I think you beat those two teams, whether you beat them 1-0, whether you beat them 3-2, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
I feel like the confidence level will be so stupidly high for this club that I hope, and again, like I said, it's hypothetically, I would hope that they would go into every game looking at it like we shouldn't. There's no reason we should lose this game.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously,
Yep.
The one other game that I will say, now that you're kind of listing them off, that is scary to me is Newcastle away, because
another club we don't play well.
Not even that. It's just Newcastle will also be fighting relegation, which is wild
true.
because I feel like Newcastle is one of those clubs that is like they date relegation and then break up with her with 3 games left to go in the season, right?
They do. I don't care who goes down as long as it's not Fulham, because I want Fulham to stay up because I like Scotty Parker. And you know what? I have nothing against Fulham as a club. A lot of American players have played for Fulham. I don't have a soft spot for them, but I don't hate them. I'd rather see Fulham stay up though than Newcastle or even Southampton or somebody like that, because of Scott Parker mostly. So I would love to do Scott Parker a favor, down the stretch this season to beat Newcastle and beat Southampton, because I think both of them are going to be dragged into this relegation.
Honestly, I think Fulham are doing their own favors right now. Fulham are in some pretty decent form. I'm happy we're done playing them right now.
I'm happy we're not playing them either. And I know we had a draw against them, and that wasn't a great result, but it doesn't look as bad as it did at the time. I think Southampton are going to get dragged into this thing because they have hit rock bottom. And everybody loved the manager there, the Hoysen-Pfeffer, whatever his name is. But they've just,
Imagine being a fan of that team, being first for a week and now being like, oh, we're going down.
When I lived in, and you can take a drink, when I lived in Paris, I had a good friend who was a Southampton.
Oh, we've taken plenty of France
drinks. You're drinking
today.
a lot of drinks tonight. I know. Hopefully a nice vin rouge. Anyway, I had a good friend who was a Southampton fan, and was old enough to remember when they were pretty good in the 70s and, remembered Matt Letizia and all that stuff. And you know what? He was a good dude. It's like supporting West Ham. It's hard. It's hard. And you don't know what you're going to get. And he'd been through it all. So I don't have anything against Southampton, but I think they're going to get dragged into this thing. They look terrible. Newcastle, they don't look great. But yeah, as you guys said, we have to continue doing what we've done this season, which is what we haven't done in past seasons, which is take care of the clubs below us.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sunday we're going to go 4 at the back. I think we're going to have Lingard. We're going to have Fornals. We're going to have Antonio and Bowen. Do I want to say Bowen? Yes, up front. I think we're going to be aggressive against Arsenal because I don't think Moyes is frightened of Arsenal. And I think he's going to do what he did against Tottenham, which is show some
need to be. Their back four is trash.
Their back four is trash, and he's going to be aggressive the way he was against Tottenham. And I think it's going to work. But I don't. That's what I would do anyway. What would you guys do, Sully? What would you do? Go ahead.
If in hindsight he goes and plays a 5 at the back again, what would be your thoughts?
As long as Noble's not just starting 11. I think if you go 5 in the back, let's say you put Ben Johnson in the left wing Masuaku spot, which obviously doesn't bode well because he's not a left-footed player. But let's say you put him in that spot. Yeah. You have Antonio up front with Bowen and Lingard, Souček, Rice, Cresswell, Diop, and Dawson. Or probably Dawson in the middle, Diop out on the right-hand side, Soufal. I've never been good at math, but I want to assume that's 11 because obviously Fabianski.
Right.
But I think that if we go 5 at the back, that might be the only way. Or maybe you put Fredericks out there for pace because, Arsenal's quick. But maybe that's the only reason I'm okay with the back 5.
I think
other than that, I think we should go 4 in the back and have
I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you this, right?
Yes.
What's Ben Rama got to do to get in this team?
You know what, James? I think he might get in. I don't think Moyes will be as cautious against Arsenal. If he is, I'm hoping he'll do what Selly was talking about. I'm hoping if we see 5 at the back, it's Fredericks and not Johnson because Fredericks is a better player going forward. He's a more experienced player. He's faster. He can play more of that sweeper role than Johnson is able to do, I think. I think Ben Rama makes it in this time. And I mean, I can't predict. Nobody can predict. Hopefully, Moyes looked at Manchester United, saw the way the game changed when Ben Rama and Lanzini came in, and he says to himself, Arsenal are vulnerable. Arsenal are going to be what Tottenham were for us a couple of weeks ago. They're very similar. That's how we go after them. If we're cautious again, like against Manchester United cautious, listen, I'm going to support David Moyes because of where we are at the table. Okay. I'm not going to say, I think it'd be absolute insanity to say Moyes out at that point. It'd be bonkers,
Yeah, I'll trust his decisions. I'll
trust his decisions, but I will be disappointed. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
But what it is, the way I look at it is you can praise him when he does good, but you've also got to criticize him when he does.
Of course you do. Of course you
negative,
do.
Definitely.
And I think we have. And I think most fans have. I think you've seen it on social media. I think you've heard it here. I think you've heard it on the other fan channels, West Ham Fan TV and Hammers Chat and, Hammers polls that you did, that you guys, I think, both did. And it's fair,
Somebody had a crazy stat on Twitter earlier today about games that Ben Rama has started.
Yeah. Oh, that was Danny. Yeah, you know what?
Was that Danny?
That was in our. I'm going to find it. That was in our chat.
Right.
And I'm going to pull it up right now. Now, I don't know who the opponents were. These stats are easy to.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, but let me just pull this up. This Danny, who is not here tonight because apparently he has a girlfriend now. Well done, Danny. So he said he'd be here tonight if his girlfriend let him, but he's not here. So I guess that tells you what you need to know. Anyway, we love Danny and hope he's doing well. So here we go. West Ham with Ben Rama starting. You can read it. Played 12-1-9, lost 1 without Ben Rama starting. Played 11-1-4, lost 6. It is not a pun. It is striking. It is a striking set of statistics. Now, I mean, you're in this. You're going to have what? Manchester City in there, Manchester United in there. I mean, I'm thinking a lot of this is going to be mid-table to lower table clubs, right? And a lot of
Sure.
this is going to be. You know what? I'm using the wrong screen. Here we go. A lot of this, I should say, is going to be mid to lower table clubs. A lot of this is going to be, but
two of them wins though, Lee. Two of them wins that he played on the start was against Leeds.
Yes.
He started at Ellen Road and he started at home. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Give me a minute and I'll have a think for you.
I'm having trouble thinking that he started 12 times. That's what I'm trying to think about. When did he 12 starts? Seems like 10 more than I can remember. But
well, so excuse me. I'll say too. Even if it is, and hello, Charlie. Good to see you.
Hey, Charlie, how you doing? Glad you're with us.
I will say, to a degree, it shouldn't matter who he started against if that's the result.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And now, I think, kind of to my point earlier, especially this season, if I'm given the benefit of the doubt, and again, change the name of devil's advocate, if I'm given Moyes benefit of the doubt, if you want to fear the badge against,
you really did change your name. I see it now. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know you could do that, but good.
If you want to respect the Liverpool badge, understand it. They're defending champs. If you want to understand, or if you want to do Manchester United, I get it because you were Everton. They were monsters. You went to Manchester United. You were set up to fail there. I get it. But at the same time, this is not the year to put and no slander to anybody who supports Arsenal, but this is not the year to fear that badge.
They would tell you that. They know that. They know that.
I'm sure some would.
No, they're all a bunch of Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans are total douchebags, but some of them know football.
Yeah, no, sure. But I will say this is not the year to respect that. I think you go into
it's not.
As if you set up against Leeds. You go into it set up like how you did against Tottenham. But like I said, put that same starting 11 that you did away to Villa. Because when I saw that starting 11, I was like, okay, we're going for this. Because that was a game that last year we don't win. A few years ago we don't win. A few years in a row we don't win. That was one of the games too, to where we had to win it to go 7th, and we lost 1-0 in a terrible game.
Yes,
but
it was.
set up to win, because Arsenal, I mean, like I said, they'll have confidence. They'll probably win tomorrow. James had a good point on the show yesterday or Monday about how the result doesn't matter for them right now in that competition. So there's no need for them to start their best players. But I mean, they're not world beaters. They're
not what they were. They're not what they were 20 years ago, all right? And they're not what they were 10 years ago. There was a time when they were an elite football club in the world. There was a time when they were in the Champions League final. That's a long time ago now. You know what I mean?
Arsenal fans or Cowboys fans?
Oh, they are, Selly. Arsenal fans are Cowboys fans. Oh, that is so true. Oh, man, that is so true.
The thing is, people keep saying about Benrahma's stats. Oh, he ain't scored no goals. Well, if we all go back to the Palace away game, Antonio should have scored 4 goals, and they would have all been assisted by Benrahma.
Yeah. Well,
say no more.
Listen, I'm with Charlie Boy on this. All right, stats are for baseball fans. All right, you want to watch baseball or cricket for that matter. Fine, be a stat head. I don't care. I don't like stats in football because they don't. They don't show me anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I like to see. I like to watch.
Possession.
Right, exactly. It's like possession. I don't care about possession. We have 25% possession. I don't care if we win 2-1. It doesn't matter to me. I like to see what players do. All right.
Yeah.
When you watch Benrahma, you see what kind of player he is. You see his weaknesses. You see his strengths. Okay. I don't care about numbers that he produces. I care that he makes us better going forward. That he's creative. That he's fast. That he's clever. I also worry that he gives the ball away too much. That he shoots too easily, that he shoots too inaccurately. He does have faults, but I think his strengths outweigh his weaknesses, and that's what I like. That's what I like when I see him play, as opposed to looking at numbers, which, again, in this sport, to me, they don't mean much. Other than the score.
What it is, I keep seeing these comments about work rate, right? What is going on with our attackers with this work rate situation? Like Fornals, work rate, Bowen, work rate. I want my attackers to attack, not defend. You know what I mean?
I want him to be. Bowen has really been out of form. I agree with you. And yes, I'm with you, James. I like the fact that Fornals tracks back. I do, but I want him to score goals, and I want him to assist, and I want him to put crosses in. Yeah.
Well, no, and I think to James' point too, right? I'll say, how many like top attacking players do you ever really hear about their defense, right? Like we have Suchek, we have Rice for that. You don't ever hear about defense from Tammy Abraham, from Pepe, from whoever. You really don't. It doesn't exist because they get paid. And I made this point on the show with James the other day. I think fans criticize players for not doing the one thing that they're paid to do, right? And Benrahma gets paid to score goals. That's what he did in the championship. That's what Bowen did in the championship. And they have not scored. This season specifically, they have not scored for us.
They have not scored for us.
And I think that was a big reason, too, why there was so much fuss against Haller. It's like, oh, Haller doesn't score, he doesn't fit the system, whatever. How I'm not talking about Haller, old news. Benrahma, like you said, he sets up perfect assists. He has great setup play. I mean, look at his
geezer. Sorry, Sally, I didn't carry on, mate. 80s geezer's got to get over Pellegrini. That's gone.
Well,
mate,
but I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying.
It's gone.
It is gone, and I agree with James. I think what he's saying, and I think what he's saying is that we're a counterattacking team, which means our wingers are going to have to defend. That's part of what they do. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, I agree. That's the reason why Anderson is not on the side.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's Bowen's work rate? Sorry, Sadie, yeah? Do you think it's Bowen's work rate is the reason why he's out of form? Because he's supposed to attack, not supposed to defend.
No. Bowen doesn't start because we have better options. And that's just plain and simple. Because at this level, at any top professional level, in any league in the world, no matter what the sport is, when you get paid to play a kid's game, if you're not the best, you're not playing. This is like professional sports is not the place to play favorites. And I think we've seen that a lot at West Ham, which is a big reason why I think, kind of over the years where we've dropped results. And honestly, why I am surprised that Mark Noble hasn't played more in certain games, because you look at this weekend. Ainley Derby is like, oh yeah, it's a good game for Mark Noble. I don't want him to touch the ground this weekend unless we're up by 2 goals to come in and finish it out.
Yep.
I do not want to see that man starting.
I don't
want to see that man coming into play like 20 minutes if it's tied or we're only up by 1, whatever. But I'll say, he doesn't play because Lingard is better. He doesn't play because Benrahma is better. And to some certain aspects, Fornals is better.
He is better.
In some aspects, I think they both have their own good things about them. But I will say one thing that Bowen has kind of always struggled with since he's been in the club is he looks to score first.
All right, Charlie.
Which isn't bad, but he's definitely missed some wide open assist opportunities that I think is a big reason why he doesn't play either. Now, Benrahma, I think, is a pass first, and he'll take his chances because I think he believes in his ability to score the worldies, which is fine. Don't mind it at all.
Yeah, he does. I kind of don't either. Lingard, he will eventually. Yeah,
he will eventually, and then they'll just get poured on. But look, I mean, Lingard scored, 4 goals because he's confident. I love confidence in the player. Have it. You get paid millions of dollars. Be confident. Why not? But but you got to play your best players. And if and I know obviously I don't think King is here, but if Frederick was our literal best option at whatever position he was playing, he would start. Too bad Soufal is doing better than you are. Soufal is a better player than you are. That's why he starts. And
he also knows how to defend. Fredericks could never defend.
Yeah, I mean Souček came in. Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you this, right? Who would be your front four? If you was the manager of West Ham and you had to pick a front four, right, with the players that we got all fit, who would your front four be?
Antonio, Benrahma, Lingard, and Fornals in the middle.
Well, actually, I'm pretty similar to you, what you just said there, but I would have Bowen. I'd have Antonio up top, Benrahma left, Bowen right, Lingard as a 10. Because the way I look at it is, right, Fornals' work rate, can't fault the man. Does well, good on the ball. He don't score enough goals for me as a 10. He just does not score enough goals. If he scored 10 goals, or
what do you tell me? Sorry, name him again, James. I'm sorry. Tell me who your front four is.
Well, what would be your front four, Lee? If you was to pick in a front four at West Ham,
I think I would go. I think I would go with what Selly said. I think I'd go with Antonio, Lingard, Fornals, and Ben Rama. I do.
So Bowen gets the chop
at the moment. I don't hate Bowen. But right now, right now I think.
Yeah, I don't hate Bowen either. I mean, it's him and Fornals are easily interchangeable.
I'm talking about on Sunday based on form. All right, that's what I'd go with. Yes.
Yeah. But it's funny though, right? You've said the same as Sully, and I've said different, right? But Bowen has got more assists and more goals than Fornals. But people like Fornals because his work rate.
Well, as I said though, to me, it's based on. I mean, I know Fornals didn't play against Manchester United, so it's kind of hard to say, but I don't think Bowen's in very good form. I think taking a seat would not be bad for Bowen at the moment, to be honest.
For me, I said Fornals specifically because he is a number 10. It has nothing to do with work rate or recent form.
Right.
Fornals is a number 10 traditionally, so that's why I'll put him in that spot. Now, granted, having Lingard in there is a brilliant shout too. Obviously, I think he can do everything that Fornals does. But I think if you have that speed and creativity on your outsides with Fornals in the middle, for me personally, with him as a 10, I'm not looking for Fornals to score. I'm looking for him to create chances.
I agree,
and I think that he can do that if that's it. So for me, and it's not necessarily I'm disagreeing with Lee, but I think it's just specifically because that's what he is. That's when we signed him, that's what he was doing with Spain in the U23 Euros.
Yep.
And I think that's what he can do for us now.
Somebody brought this up earlier, and I'm not going to be able to find it, but somebody mentioned, here it is, Vernon mentioned it. The hockey assist. I like this because Selly, how it works in hockey. You can have 2 guys assist on a goal, right? You can so you have one guy passes, another guy makes a decisive pass, and the goal scorer scores a goal. Both of those guys get assists, and I think you do. I think Fornals is in a lot of situations where he's involved in the build-up.
Sure.
Vernon was going to finish this with here it is down here, build-up, where he's involved in the build-up, and he's not necessarily on the score sheet, but you see him. He's making maybe not the decisive pass, but the one before it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Look at the goal Lingard scores against Leeds. I think it was just elected goal of the month. Is that right? Was it Leeds he scored against? Anyway, I thought it was. Anyway, look, Fornals is basically following right with him. Do you know what I mean? Like he's making the run with him. What I see with Fornals is, the ability to track back, and as you said, the ability to create. And I think sometimes he doesn't get the credit he deserves for being a creator because he doesn't get the assist. Somebody else gets the assist, but he's making that pass out of the midfield, or he's making that pass into the final third.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point what you're saying there. But Ben Rama does the same thing, but he's criticised through certain people saying, well, he doesn't do enough.
And but that's what I like about Ben Rama.
Yeah.
I'm with you, James. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Ben Rama is a creator. I think what Fornals has over Ben Rama is he's better at tracking back when he needs to. But I love the fact that Ben Rama does that too. You're absolutely right, James. You see this all the time. He gets that hockey assist. He makes that next to last pass.
Yeah.
All the time. And nobody sees, nobody notices it. And you'd almost have to go back and rewind the game because you don't even always see it in the highlights. You got to go back and look, a couple of moves. Ben Rama, I'm with you that Ben Rama does that too. That's why I'd have him out there. I'd have Ben Rama out there.
Yeah.
Based on that picture that Danny was sharing earlier with the 9 wins and 1 losses, obviously that stat alone, regardless of who are playing, is evidence enough that Ben Rama's defense is not losing us games.
Yeah.
If he started and we've only lost 1 and won 9, I'm starting that man every time. If you're not the reason we're losing games,
I can count 4 games at the minute of what I thought of: Burnley at home, Crystal Palace away, and both Leeds games off the top of my head. That's that he started. I'm trying to think of the other ones that he's played, but he played at Palace away where he assisted Antonio 100 times near enough.
There might have been cup games that he started, maybe. Yeah. I think.
Possible cup games.
I thought what we brought out against Leeds was pretty close to our perfect starting 11, if I remember it correctly. I thought it was excellent. And that's kind of what I'd like to see us go with again. Because as you guys have said, I just don't think that Arsenal are anything special. I don't. They're right now. They're a mid-table club. They have some flashy players, but they're fundamentally a mid-table club that we should beat.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. And I get the shout, that Benrahma isn't a Moyes signing, but I mean, I think he just provides more. And I obviously I think there is a conversation to be had about about coaches playing their players. I get that. I think that's a big reason why your two offensive players were Bowen and Antonio. Now, obviously, Antonio's not a Moyes signing, but you can't not start Antonio if he's healthy.
He's our only striker.
Yeah, no, for sure. But but I don't know. I mean, I just think
there's another way. There's another way you could look at it, right? Because I agree what you were saying about Antonio there, Sully. Yeah, because let's be honest, his fitness has been iffy at best. Like
always,
up
forever.
And always will be too. That's just how he is. Yeah.
If that was me, I would put him on the bench. I'd put Bowen up front. I'd have Benrahma one side, Lingard the other side, and Fornals as your 10. Look at that front four. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
That's pace, that's width, that's everything. You got your work rate either side, but it's just that Antonio, he's in because he's the only one we've got.
He's our talent, James. He's our talisman. He makes it go for whatever reason. And I know he hasn't necessarily been in form lately because I think he's physically starting to break down again. I wouldn't be surprised me at all if he's out after Arsenal for a while. I hope he's not, but it wouldn't surprise me. It just wouldn't.
Sure.
I think he's breaking down again. But he is our talisman. Whatever magic sprinkles us, he puts on us. I mean, nobody else has it. And when we don't have him, you can tell we struggle big. I think Bowen is an option up front, but it's nothing happens without Antonio. He's the straw that stirs the drink for whatever reason.
Well, and I think too, a big reason for that, obviously, because we don't have anybody else. But I don't think it's hard to go out and find a striker that does everything Antonio does. And let me put this in a big banner. This is not any Antonio slander, so please don't come after me for this.
It's okay.
But it is not hard to find somebody who does what Antonio does, right? He's quick. You can find any striker that can shoot better than he can. So that's not hard. And I will die on this mountain saying that if Haller had any kind of pace, people would love the man, right? Because Haller had great setup play, and I know I'm not talking about him. Here we are again. Whatever, cry about it. But
Haller was technically better than Antonio.
Of course,
he just wasn't fast. Yeah. He just wasn't
of
fast.
Course
if Haller,
he was a real striker.
Yeah, if Haller had like Arnautovic pace, he'd still be on this club, and he would probably have 10 plus goals. And I don't think that's hard to say.
He also wouldn't adapt. He wouldn't. He wanted his service. He wanted to play in the system he'd played in at wherever he came, Frankfurt, wherever he came from before, Eintracht, I think it was. Yeah. I mean, he just wouldn't adapt, and that I had a problem with that. But as technically as a striker, he's an excellent striker. He scored a lot of goals in Germany.
I mean, I'll say
he's going to score a lot in Holland too.
You could definitely make a compelling argument against Service too, because let's say if you put Haller in that same four that we were just talking about with James, if you put Haller in for Antonio, and if you have any variation of Bowen, Lingard, and Benrahma behind him, Haller is either scoring more goals or those three are scoring more goals. It's going to be one way or the other,
Yeah, but I agree. Haller, I don't really think he wanted to be at West Ham. I think I don't want to say that he was lazy. I don't think that's fair. I just don't think he liked the system. I don't think he liked Moyes. I don't, and he wouldn't. These were immovable objects. Moyes wouldn't adapt. He wouldn't adapt. When you're in that situation, the player's going to go every time. Okay, it's not going to be if the guy were if this were £100 million player, maybe it's different. A £40 million striker is never going to topple the manager in that situation. He's going to go, and he went. And we've probably better off without him. Although, when Antonio goes down again, we may be questioning that. But yeah, I mean, I think this is true too. I think Lingard's pushed everybody to all of our attacking players to be better. But Sully, what you said about Antonio, I mean, we had an Antonio before Antonio, and his name was Marko Arnautovic, who was largely the same guy.
But Marko Arnautovic could shoot too.
Marko Arnautovic could hit the target, could hit the back of the net, and Antonio still has that tendency to, he's not very accurate. Arnautovic just had a bad attitude and a brother who, steered in a wrong direction. But he was a big, strong, relatively pacey converted winger. He was a lot like Antonio, and this is why you see people talking about Moyes buying Traore from Wolves, the big dude from Wolves, and doing the same thing with him. Bring him in and have him be another Antonio. No, he's not had a very good season.
Well, and I'm not sure. Don't put him as Antonio because he really can't shoot.
Right. Well, that's what I think. You're right, Sully. But you see in theory why people would say, he's the next guy to do that with. Yeah, I know this. I'll tell you something, and I don't want to go back into history either, but I will say that I remember working in an office. Arnautovic was keeping us up that season. We talked about earlier. And, talking to a Liverpool supporter friend, and he said, that everybody at Liverpool was terrified of Arnautovic because he could just do anything, whatever he wanted. And I mean, he really, it's just a shame he didn't work out because the guy was an absolute beast for us. And I love Antonio. I love Antonio for who he is and for the kind of player he is, more than for how good of a player he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but and he's Arnautovic is a perfect example that if there's anybody better than him at a striker position, or maybe just a literal, and Arnautovic wasn't even a striker; he's a converted winger.
No, he was a converted winger. But
so if there's anybody who can do what Antonio can do but better, he's going to start. I'll say Antonio and Arnie would have been nasty together, and Arnie and Chicharito would have been nasty together too.
Arnie and Chicharito would have been fantastic, and I think we wasted Chicharito, and it's a real shame because I like him too. The thing I love about Antonio is that I think he's a lot like Carlton Cole to me, but maybe he's a better player. But he's got a great attitude. He's funny. He's a fan favorite. He's a cult hero, and I like him for that.
Mm-hmm. But how long do you reckon he's got left? How long do you reckon he's got left, though? Because obviously the injuries are starting to mount up.
Do you think he makes it through this season?
He'll make it through this season. He's got 10 games left, but I don't think he has more than an actual year if he's a starter.
And is he 30? Antonio?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even matter that he's 30. The dude is broken.
I know.
When was the last time he played a full season for us?
He is 30, and I'll tell you what, he's going to be 31 here real soon. He's going to be 31 on the 28th. So next about 10, 11 days, he's going to be 31. So, I mean, yeah, a 31-year-old striker with bad hamstrings. He's not our starting striker at the end of next season. I mean, there's no way, is there? I don't think there's any way.
And I guess
I can't see it myself. I really can't see it. I think he's going to be turned into a super sub, 20-minute job, a bit like Noble.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
And this is definitely for everybody. And this, I know that this is obviously going to have probably just one answer to it. But to see what you have in Meepo, is there any chance that you start him against Arsenal?
No, I don't think so.
He's not ready, mate. He's not ready. I've had this little debate with Gio before, and I said to Gio the same thing, and Gio was like, "But how can you say that?" I said, "Well, let's be honest here. He needs to go out on loan. He needs to go out on loan, score 20 goals, championship, another 20 goals."
Not a bad question.
Do you think he should get like maybe 10? Like let's say if we're up 2-0 on Arsenal with like in the 75th, would you bring him on?
That's acceptable.
Would you bring on a striker though in that situation? See, I would bring on.
I'm just saying if we're in
Mark Noble to me.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's when you bring on a Mark Noble. But I'm just saying, like, just to get him some playing time. He doesn't need to score at that point.
Let's say we're up on Brighton 2-0. You know what I mean? Maybe that's when you bring him in. I mean, I think what we saw against Manchester United in the FA Cup was a pretty good, picture of where he is right now. I think he'll be good. I don't think he's ready yet. He got subbed off as a sub. That's pretty bad. It's not a
Mhm.
bad question at all, Sally. I certainly wouldn't start him this weekend.
Specifically against Arsenal? Like, would you start him against a Burnley or somebody? Or at least
Maybe,
would you give him significant minutes rather? Maybe that's a better question. Like,
I think
would
there's
you give
better
him 30
options.
minutes?
If I'm
maybe.
honest, I think there's better options that we've got. But
Sure.
to bring him on for the last 10 minutes of games, I think that's acceptable, especially if we're
Sure.
winning the games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if we're winning the game 2-0 or something with 10 minutes to go, you take Antonio, if you bring him on, just let him run about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to Bowen.
I think we got to be up 2-0, and it's got to be against somebody like Burnley who can't score.
Going back to Bowen, do you think Bowen hasn't played because he's the backup for Antonio? Should he pull a hamstring?
Well, that's a good question.
not a bad shout.
That's a good question. A really good question.
That's not a bad shout.
Yeah, we got to save him because without him, we've got nobody at all. Although, you know who's back in training? Who's back in training? Who's back in training, guys? Did you see it?
Yarmolenko.
Yarmolenko is back in training. Yes, everybody's favorite 35 million pound Ukrainian winger, or whatever he is. I don't know if he's match fit. I have no idea.
Up up top.
He was. This is my favorite rumor of the season, by the way. And I really think that we're going to see it. We're going to see it one eventually. All right.
Purely based around their one run that he had when we won 1-0 at Tottenham Stadium.
That's right.
That's the only way you get that argument.
This has been floating around Twitter. You know, there are all these rumors about West Ham that have floated around for years, so that they've become like memes or jokes now. Like, you know, Eidur Gudjohnsen, you know, was going to come to West Ham back 15, 20 years ago. Bradley Wright Phillips was another one. Bradley Wright Phillips is having a physical, you know, all this other stuff, or medical.
Yeah.
So now it's Diop up top is the new like West Ham rumor meme. I'd love to see it. This on the other, if we didn't need him so much as a defensive midfielder, I think this could actually work because the guy's a beast. But yeah, this is basically my feeling about Yarmolenko.
I think if there's any world, right, where Yarmolenko, where Antonio gets hurt, I think you change the formation up to you have a 3 up top with Lingard, whether it be probably Bowen at that point, and then Benrahma on the other side, and then you kind of do whatever you want to behind them, whether that be a 3-3-4, a 3-2-1-3, whatever the heck you want to do. But I think that might be a good shot because I don't want Yarmolenko to play significant striker minutes.
No, I don't really kind of want to play at all. I don't think he brings much. He doesn't bring much. Way back in the middle of the season when we were having to rotate the squad a lot and he was still healthy, I was saying, well, if you're desperate for a striker, he does play striker for Ukraine. You could put him up front, but that was a situation where it was like you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? You got to fill 11 bodies on the team sheet at that point. You know,
sure.
If there's any choice, I put Bowen in over Yarmolenko. And I don't know. I mean, in all honesty, there's got to be. You could get a Meepo and put it. You know what I mean? If it gets down to that, I think Meepo's ahead of Yarmolenko in the pecking.
Yeah, I think if Bowen's on the pitch, he either moves up to the striker or you put Meepo on. But if Bowen's not, I think Bowen is the sub for Antonio, which I guess kind of now saying that might be the reason why he doesn't play more. And could be a reason why you haven't really heard any rough ups from that, like from him not starting.
That's a great comment. Sorry. But, you know what, Sally, I think that's a really good point. I think Moyes may be going to him and saying, look, your time is coming. We know Antonio is fragile and your time is coming. And now Antonio's going to go play for Jamaica, which, listen, nothing would make me happier than Mikel Antonio win the World Cup because I love Mikel Antonio. I do. He's becoming one of my favorite West Ham players of all time. And I, as a fan, I want to see that guy get his chance in the World Cup. But there's no way this works out well for us long run. There's no way. It just cannot possibly work out well for us. You know.
No.
I think it needs. We definitely need 2 strikers in the summer. That is a major thing there because we're relying on a man.
And to answer your question, Vernon, I don't know, but I mean, do you really want Yarmo up front? Seriously? Where does he have 155 career goals, by the way? Where did he score those? I mean, for whom did he score?
I don't even want to see Yarmolenko on the team bus, Lennon up front.
I mean, you could time this guy with like an egg timer. You know what I mean? Like you time this guy with a sundial when he runs. I mean, he's slow, is what I'm saying. And he's 31, and he was born in Russia. I didn't know that. Plays for Ukraine, but he was born in St. Petersburg. I did not know that. That is new to me. I was just wondering where he scored all his goals. Well, he scored 99 goals for
Kiev.
Dynamo Kiev, yes. And in fact, 44, I'm sorry, 7 for us, 3 for Borussia Dortmund, and about 13, 14 more in Ukraine. And then he scored a bunch for the Ukrainian national team. He scored 38 for the Ukrainian national team. 99 goals in for Dynamo Kiev, and that's where most of his goals have come from. And I don't know, James. I mean, I figure if I dropped another 20 pounds, I could probably score a goal or two a season for Dynamo Kiev. What do you think? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Listen, you would make the team bus. Yarmolenko wouldn't.
That's what I'm talking about. Dynamo, you talking about a farmers league? I think Ukraine is an actual literal farmers league. Like they're actually farmers who play in that league. But I know Shevchenko came from there. I know. They've produced some good players. I apologize to the good people of Ukraine, but I can't get too excited over 155 goals, but 99 of them came for Dynamo Kiev. And also that was the last time. Last one was in 2017. So anyway, yes, this is true, and it's also. I'll tell you what else. They won't let you. You can't Craig Dawson anybody in international football either. You know what I mean? You can't go in and just like you can't go in with a hard tackle. You can't do anything really. Anyway, so let's get some predictions for. Oh, okay.
Charlie boy, he's proper, isn't he? He's proper. Charlie boy.
He's got it. He is working it tonight, big time. Yeah, he is. He's working it tonight, big time. This, by the way, is not uninteresting to me. Lingard is a striker. What do you guys think about that? I don't think that's the worst idea I've ever heard.
I mean, if you need to, but I would want to have him in the midfield, to be honest.
Oh, I agree. I prefer him in the midfield. But I mean, emergency, put him up front.
I feel like if Lingard is your striker, something's gone terribly wrong.
Well, I mean, think about this, though, okay? Consider Benrahma, Fornals, Bowen, and then Lingard as your striker. That doesn't sound like the worst. That's not the worst front four I've ever heard of.
It's not the worst front, but I think Lingard would provide more as a midfielder.
I'd rather have
both sides than up top as a striker.
I agree with you, Sally. I do agree with you. I do. I wouldn't prefer it, but I think in an emergency situation, the question. Well, I guess the question is, in that situation, would you want Bowen or would you want Lingard to be the one up top? Because it'd be one or the other. I guess it makes more sense for it to be Bowen.
Because Bowen always looks to score anyways. Dude never looks for a pass.
He never does it. We have a lot of players who don't look for a pass. And I'll tell you something about Fornals. That guy just needs to this is interesting. I did not know this. That is correct. He was born on
I'm older than Yarmolenko.
1989. He was born in the USSR. Wow. He is, let me tell you better watch out for him. He may be like spying on us or something. One of those communists they warned me about when I was growing up in Texas. You know what I mean? Gotta watch out for that guy. I don't know. I really don't want him on I really don't want him on the team bus. He smiles too much. Yeah, he can't be Russian. He can't really be Russian. He smiles too much. But that makes sense, right? That he could play for Ukraine because Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. There you go. Anyway, Michael Antonio is going to play for Jamaica. Has he ever even been to Jamaica? I don't know. So let's talk about some score predictions for Saturday. And yes, Kieran, we're starting the wrap up now, just in case you're wondering. Let's talk about some score predictions for Saturday. I'm sorry, not Saturday, Sunday. We never play on Saturdays anymore. I don't know why I even bothered to say that. So we've talked a little bit how we'd set up. What do you guys think is going to happen? Home to Arsenal, 11 o'clock Sunday morning Eastern time. James, what do you think?
If I'm honest, this is a game that's going to make or break our season. If I'm honest, we are
absolutely 100%. Yes, I agree with you.
If we win this game, we're back on. Right, we're there or thereabouts. We lose this game, the confidence might start dipping.
Yep.
It's an R one for me to predict, mate. If I'm honest, because we never beat Arsenal at home. Like we've only beaten once in the last. I think we've only beaten once since we've been at the Stadium.
Yep.
So
Yep, I think you're right.
I'm going to say a draw in this one. I'm going to say 1-1.
But is this team different? That's the question we're asking right now. Is this a different West Ham? You guys, you're saying 1-1?
I'm going to say 1-1. Just to the simple fact is they're on form and all. Like they're on form and we're off it a little bit. I'll say 1-0.
All right. Sally, what do you think?
Oh,
Vernon, you're killing me.
I think if we set up with a very attacking front four, I think we could get 2.
Do we know this for sure? Anyway.
I don't know. This one is kind of interesting because I kind of feel about this game the way I did heading into Villa away. Because I think Villa were getting some results leading up to that game. We weren't necessarily not getting results, but Villa away is always a tricky game. Not a trick game, tricky game. I don't know. I want to say 2-2, but I wouldn't. I mean, 2-1 also feels right as well, but I'll go 2-2 just because, like I said, they are in form. But I do think we do have the setup attacking for it, like whatever, just some formation of an attacking four and go for it. Because if we set up like how we did against Man United, I think it'll be like 0-0, but like a boring 0-0, which that game kind of was too. But
it was boring, yeah.
But I mean, we can't set up to not have any shots on goal because if we draw that game, cool, we get a point, neat. But we're like 7th now because results aren't going to keep going our way. Like we're 5th because we keep getting results.
Right.
So I mean, we need to force the issue. If Chelsea win, we need to win to stay 2 points behind them.
I think we're 3 points behind them at this point, and we play them. We play them.
I think we're 2, but we have a game in hand on them.
You may be right. I'm gonna look because I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean we got a pretty decent goal difference. Plus 11, it's not bad. I mean, obviously more would be nice, but I'm not going to be mad at a positive goal difference at this point in the season.
We are 3 behind them with the game in hand,
really?
But they've got 9. They're 9 goals to the better on goal differential. So we need to win, and then when we play them, we need to beat them. Basically,
yeah.
That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, so I'll say if we go attacking, we'll win. If we don't, we'll draw. I'll put it that way. I don't know what the scores will be.
I think this game defines our season, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. And by the way, if we win this game, then the next game defines our season. Do you know what I mean? Every game,
each game is a cup match. Yeah,
each game is a cup final at this point, or a cup tie at this point. Yeah, that's the way we talked about this last week. That's how Champions League teams play. They play every week to win. They win every week. That's why they are where they are. Again, we're used to fighting a relegation battle where everybody around us loses, and then if we win, we jump 3 points up, and it's like this huge jump. You don't get that when you're at the top. When you're at the top, you got to get 3 every week, or you fall behind, which is what we're starting to do. I think this game defines our season, and I don't want to jinx us. Which I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but I think we can win this. And I'll tell you, I think it's because all season long, after a loss or after a poor performance, we've bounced back. We've played really well.
Yeah.
I think Moyes goes 4 at the back. I think he starts Benrahma. I think he goes for this. I think we look the way we looked against Villa and then we looked against Leeds. And I think we win this game 2-1 and maybe even 3-2. I think there's a lot of goals in this game. I do. I think we scored. I think they score. I think it's a 1-goal game. I think it's 2-1 or 3-2. But in all honesty, I've got to believe in us. All right. I have to believe in us here because if we lose this game, we're not making Champions League.
I think I'll knock on wood for a couple things. One, only us and Man City have not lost back-to-back league games this season.
I read that too on Twitter, and it was like, "Don't tweet that."
Yeah, crazy stat.
Yeah.
But I'll say, talking about like believing. I think the team believes a lot in themselves because I think even in some of with a handful of poor performances, I think there's been a lot of fight that you've seen in the team. Obviously for different games. Obviously, the Leeds game we played like crap, still won. Came back against Tottenham. Obviously, handful of games like that. Played against City well twice. To play City twice and only lose by a combined 2 goals is pretty incredible. I don't care who you are.
Well, I mean, I think we only lost by one goal, right? Because we
drew
with them the first time. Yeah.
One, so
no, it was a good set of games. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, the team has a lot of resolve. And I don't think if we do go down, I don't think the team is going to drop their heads, right? I think as much as I was saying that Leeds was a trap game for us a couple of weeks ago, I think this could be a trap game for Arsenal because just like how I said Arsenal were Cowboys fans, and shout out to everybody who understands that reference.
Yep.
I think Arsenal will be like, oh, we beat Tottenham, big bad, chosen one, Jose Mourinho. We'll easily beat, little West Ham, which – is funny because it kind of reminds me there was this dude who was circulating around Twitter the other day talking about how West Ham are big and like their fans feel big and bad because they're having a decent season. Well, don't get mad because we're doing better than you, anyways.
Yeah, I know. Point. And by the way, is there a club where the fans don't feel big and bad with that recent season? What's wrong?
Well, no, that? Sure, yeah, 100%. Because it's true because nobody was saying that again about Sheffield, maybe Villa fans last year, but yeah. Other than that, I mean, I don't know. I don't want us to go into this game looking like we're trying to save the season like it is relegation. I know that's been said plenty of times, but I think that is really factual because I think if there were fans to be at games, I think if you have a full stadium an hour before, or not full, but if you have fans, an hour before kickoff and the lineups come out, and it's a formation against United, you'll hear a concise groan from West Ham fans.
You're going to do more than a groan.
But the second you see something, that you have going up against like Villa, I think people are excited. It'll get the fans hype, which will in turn, they'll back the team on the pitch from kickoff. I mean, granted, West Ham fans would do it regardless, but you guys understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's no reason to fear Arsenal at all.
There's not, and I think fearing Arsenal is in fact a mistake and dangerous and not smart. Again, I go back to the starting 11 we had against Leeds, the way we played against Leeds.
Yeah,
I think that they're a lot like Leeds in a lot of ways, and I think we can have a similar performance. What has encouraged me all season long, though, is the way Moyes has not let our shoulders slump, not let our heads drop after a loss. Mm-hmm. We've always come back with a better performance the next week. We've always come back, and he's made changes to the side. He's made tactical changes. The players have played better. They've looked more interested. They've looked better. I think all that stuff comes together, and I listen. I may be here in a week talking about the same thing we talked about tonight. All right, I don't know, but I have this season. I've predicted a couple of victories, and we've actually managed to win. So I don't think I'm jinxing us anymore. I have to believe in us, and I think we believe. I think every player knows that this game defines our season. That this game is the game that keeps us in the running for Champions League and really for Europe in general. And I think we're going to come through. I do. I think we're going to come through.
Sure. Yeah.
We've got Fornals back. We've got Lingard available. Everybody who should be healthy, as far as I know, is healthy. I know Agbana's not, obviously, but our regulars from last week's be healthy. So
this would be one of those games that I would love to go to in person because the atmosphere around that stadium at kickoff would be electric. Not even just at kickoff, but just the whole build-up, the walk to it, the pregame pubs, all that. There'd be just a whole buzz around London for this one game, and I'm excited for it. Honestly, I think it will be fun. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of goals.
I wouldn't either. Yeah.
But I think if for whatever reason, again, knock on wood, if we do lose, I just don't want it to be a shit performance.
I don't either. I have to believe, and we've all season long, I feel as though the theme of this whole season for me has been, is this a new West Ham?
Sure.
And almost every week the answer has been yes. All right.
Yeah, we'll find out again this week.
Exactly. So last week, not so much. Last week felt like an old dinosaur West Ham. It felt like a step back against Manchester United. If we're a new West Ham, as we have been almost all season, then we'll be a new West Ham on Sunday, and we'll take it to them and win this game when we have to win this game.
Yeah.
I have to believe it because you know what? I mean, as you said, Sully, who cares if we don't? You know, there are repercussions if we don't get into Europe. Okay, it's harder to keep Declan Rice. It's harder to keep somebody like Souček because there's going to be clubs coming in for him. I get all that, but we're not going down. All right, we're almost mathematically safe, believe it or not, already in March. Only Fulham could theoretically catch us, and I think we all know that's not going to happen. We're not going down. We're playing with house money here, so you know.
Yeah. So play with it.
Play with nothing to lose. Play with nothing to lose. Balls out, nothing to lose. You know,
we've got no pressure, have we, though, Lee?
No.
There's no pressure
there
on us to
shouldn't be any pressure.
Yeah.
No. I think when you look at how we played against Leeds, against Villa, against Tottenham, we played like a club with no pressure. We don't even have fans. Yeah. We don't even have fans there to boo the players when they screw up. All right. I mean, this is the fewest distractions these guys will ever have in their careers. And this is the best chance West Ham United has ever had at making Champions League or European Cup because the English clubs were banned in 1986, as you guys know. You know, when West Ham finished third. This is the best. I mean, this is it. You know, so I think they come back. I think they show us what they've got. I really do. Arsenal may be a superior team and player for player, but they haven't been a superior team all season long. And I think we come back and we show, you know, those intangibles, as Jimmy the Greek used to say, the intangibles, the heart. You know what I mean? I think we win on heart.
I think, if I remember rightly, if we beat Arsenal, they're 10 points behind us.
I believe that's correct. Yeah, I've got to look again because I don't remember. Something like that. I mean, it's astonishing where we sit in the table. Let's be honest. It's. I mean, you know, I still can't believe
it. It's you know, going back to the board is what we were promised. This is the kind of football that we should be expecting from this team. Like, this is the part of the table that we need to invest to be in. This is a part of the table that we should expect to be in, and that our players should be recruited for to believe that they can achieve is European football. You know, not making European football because Man City won the FA Cup and the league, or you know, something along those lines. Or the fact that somebody in the Champions League spot won Europa League, but because we qualified for it.
They are. You're absolutely right, Sully. You're totally right. This is where we were supposed to be at this point. Mm-hmm. They are 7 points behind us with the same number of games. So yes, James, yes. If we beat them, we are 10 points ahead of them, and we already have a better goal differential by 2 goals. So obviously, if we beat them, it would be a greater than that.
So basically, then, if we beat them, they're out the race.
We bury them if we beat them. Yes, we bury them if we beat them. That's another thing. We bury them.
Yeah, because Arsenal are behind Villa, Tottenham, and Everton and Liverpool right now. So
yes, another London club, one of the 2 most successful, obviously, along with Chelsea here in recent years. We bury them if we beat them. And I've got to believe in this team and these players and this manager in this season that we're going to do that. You know,
we've 10 games to go before we all go. Like, if we do win on Sunday, where do you think we will finish? If we win on Sunday, if you had to predict it now, like where would you say that we might finish?
I think you'd have to ask me that a week afterward. I can't. You know what, James? It's too hard to say week by week. I mean, I would love our momentum if we went on Sunday. I'd love our momentum going into like Wolves and Leicester and Chelsea and some of those really tough games. It sets us up well to finish in the top 6. Let's put it that way. It doesn't guarantee us Champions League because Champions League is really going to be tough, as we know. But it probably, I mean, I like our chances of Europe if we get past Arsenal. I do, especially because those last like 5 or 6 games, it flattens out for us pretty well.
I think. This is what I think. I think if we beat Arsenal, if we pick anything up against Wolves, if we beat Leicester, then top 4's on. So them 3 games. If we win the next 3, just for argument's sake, then we're definitely in the hunt because obviously Leicester, us versus Leicester, us versus Everton.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Totally. This is the March and April define our season. March and April define whether we're real or whether we're pretenders. Because then again, if this is a new West Ham, you get into that last stretch of the season when you get into like Newcastle. I think Brighton and Burnley are in there. Southampton are in there. I mean, that should be 3 points every game. I'm not saying it will be, but it should be, and it can be with this team. So what we do right now: Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Chelsea, and I think it might even be in that order, or Chelsea, Leicester. I can't remember. Anyway, this is it. This is it. The next month, this is it, and it's got to start on Sunday. It has to start on Sunday. There's no other way.
I think if I've got this right, it's Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Newcastle, Chelsea, Everton.
Everton's in there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got your Burnley, Brighton, West Brom, Southampton.
That sounds about right. I could. You know what? Let's see. Premier League.
So our remaining schedule is Arsenal, Wolves, Leicester, Newcastle, Chelsea, Burnley, Everton, Brighton, West Brom, Southampton.
Yeah. Burnley and Everton when I got round the wrong way, but yeah, that's what it is.
I mean, Arsenal, Wolves are beatable. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's the game we should win this season. Arsenal, Leicester, Chelsea, all three, and Everton. Those four are direct competitors for Europe. Arsenal, Leicester, Chelsea, Everton. We have chances against all of them. Everybody else is somebody, in theory, we should beat. Wolves, Newcastle. And then the last three of the season, if we come into Brighton, West Brom, and Southampton, and we're still contenders for the top four, I mean, unless there's something tragic that happens, you have to feel good about where we are. Brighton, West Brom, and Southampton as our last three. That's a good little run in for the last, for the month of May. We just have to survive this next series of games, this next month or so, and then again, if this West Ham team is healthy and we've done all season, could be good.
Let's hope so.
All right, I am wearing down and wearing out, and but yeah. By the way, Fo mentioned this way back at the start of the show. We have sprung forward for our time zone here in the U.S., so we are now 4 hours ahead of London instead of 5. All right.
Wow.
So until when do you know when you go forward, James? Do you know when you do daylight savings time over there?
It's the end of April, I think. Or beginning of April, yeah.
So for like the next 5 to 6 weeks, it's 1 a.m. London time for our show and not 2. All right. Which means Katie tomorrow, who was supposed to be with us tonight, she said she had some network problems, so we missed Katie. Wish she could have been here, but that's okay. She'll do it next time. Katie tomorrow night would be at midnight London time. That's not even that bad. That's I
tell you what, it's absolutely great when you say 1 o'clock.
I know, but I do have a big. It's not really that old, but it is pretty big. It is a pretty big phone, I got to say. I got to be able to see it. Look, I can't. I'm old, Charlie. I can't see stuff the way I used to. I got to have a big screen. Anyway, yeah. So Katie would be on at midnight in London, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know who she's with. I think she'll have a show though. She usually does. And yeah. So for the next few weeks, we're 1 London instead of 2, which is great. And like this game on Sunday is 11 o'clock Eastern time. I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning for you, Sally. No, 9 o'clock in the morning for you in Colorado. Pretty sure.
What, the game on? Yeah, 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yeah, because you're Mountain time. That's right. So yeah, it's comfortable. I'll tell you what. I teach Sunday school at 10 o'clock in the morning, right here at my desk on Zoom, and then just right into the game. Flow right into the game. Right? It's nice. Yeah. The game starts, I can start to cuss. I can start to cuss again. You know what I mean? I'll just say goodbye to the Sunday school kids and I can start cussing in West Ham.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't matter what time the game was on. I'm getting up for it.
Oh yeah, but 8 is good. 8 is, you know what, you're done. That's the beauty of it, is you're like done by 10 in the morning, and then it's like you got the rest of the day. I don't know, maybe you're working or something, but anyway, yeah, that's until right. Well, yes, British. Okay, so you guys, whenever you guys bump your clocks forward, yes, our clocks changed this on Sunday night, Saturday night. Well, whenever it was last weekend, sometime. Thank you, Kieran.
Saturday into Sunday. Yeah.
I told you it's only been about 20 minutes this time. Oh, Kenny, this will be great. Well, you got to watch tomorrow then. Kenny's got Foe on this week. Well, you got to watch then. You got to watch. You got to do it. All right. So, James, Proper Cockney in East London. Always good to have you on. You're a regular now, right? You're going to come on those pretty much every Wednesday, right? Is that the plan?
Yeah. Well, when it's 1 o'clock, mate, it's all right. When it's
there you go. No, it's I love having you on. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Love having you on. And Selly's on with me every week too, from Colorado. Again, I want to wish you all a happy St. Patrick's Day, although there's only 30 minutes of St. Patrick's Day left in the greater Boston area. And it's over there in London, James. I don't think there was a lot of celebrating St. Patrick's Day in East London, probably, but I don't know how you do it.
It is quite. Everyone loves Paddy's Day over here. Trust me.
Oh, is that
Everybody
right?
gets drunk for Paddy's Day.
Yeah, but the problem is nowhere's open because of lockdown. So
it's the same way. I mean, places are open here, but not the way they usually are. And the big parade in South Boston has been canceled. I went to the big parade in South Boston one time, and I don't think I'd go back. Just saying. But it's what, if you live in Boston, you should do it at least once. So I went many years ago, and let's leave it at that. But the places here have limited capacity and stuff like that. So anyway, it's this is true. This is true. Well, that's true. That's true. It is. It's a very progressive church too, by the way. But anyway, all right. So anyway, watch Katie tomorrow night. Irish Tommy and Chris will be on at some point after the game on Sunday, hopefully talking about a fantastic victory. We'll be here next week on Wednesday night, and until then. Come on, you on.
Come on, you on.
This is it, Kieran.